It's a struggle. It's an uphill battle. Keep these viewers around.
All right, if you go, I will.
Katie's got social media for a second, but it's Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Katie's here.
Bonjour.
Well, actually, she's not here. Katie's actually elsewhere. Here's Toronto.
I am in Montreal.
Yes. See, these live shows can happen. Allons-y. Au secours. Baume de neige. All of those things. We're back from San Diego Comic-Con, and then Katie had another trip for some reason.
Well, because Jerry didn't go to San Diego Comic-Con, so we took a vacation.
Right. An extra little vacation. Well, that's nice.
Boyfriend.
That's so nice.
With my fiance.
Let's see, I haven't brushed up on this at all, so maybe while you're searching social network and putting the word out that the show actually started,
I am.
We can ask another question that we've just solved quickly. Is
it broadcasting?
It's time for
Shanahanigans Live.
If you're just joining us, which you probably aren't, since our view count is really low, we're singing the theme song.
Broadcasting.
It's time for
Shanahanigans Live.
I never know if there's a lag.
Social media.
I can't tell. Alright, don't worry. Anything here? What's my numbers? I haven't played this song in a while. We've been out of the country. We've been in, like, San Diego and LA. I guess you're not doing anything this episode, are you? You're just hanging out.
What?
You're just hanging out in Montreal, you're not drawing, you're not inking, you're not doing anything?
Oh, I mean, I have some silly kingdom pages here. I'm probably gonna... I'm not
do you spill on it? Oh, Eddie's gonna spill things on her silly kingdom pages while she's in Montreal!
Shoot.
Did you?
We're good.
Okay. And Shaggy's gonna be at home and be very concerned about those pages that Katie Bear spilled some ink on in Montreal!
We have a very convoluted theme song.
Yeah, I'm also forgetting my keys because I haven't done this in so long. Shoot. Man, when's the last time I did this? There it is. Hi! We're back from Comic-Con.
We are.
I really should have practiced before the show. Anyway. Is it recording?
Is it broadcasting?
It's time for
Shanahanigans Live.
Back in Toronto and in Montreal or Canada in general. Not to say we didn't enjoy the United States of America, but it's always good to be.
Holy crap, that theme song.
Yes, it is. Oh, what the? Andrew's saying, how come no chat working? What do you mean no chat working? The chat is still working. Q&A. Ask a question. Why isn't it working? It should be working. Are you saying, wait, Andrew, are you saying the Q&A is not working? Is that why? The Q&A is on. Oh my gosh. I did. I so totally did. Except Google Plus introduced one new thing that's like, hey, now we have this new thing called, now you can add links and shit. You want to turn that on? And I'm like, okay, I'll turn that on. Now, if that is in any way interfered... Wait, there it is. Elizabeth Welch saying, hi, Shanahans. You're lying to me, Andrew! Andrew Murray! More like Lydrew Lurie. Why are you lying? Creepy Porpoise just proved it worked. Hi, Shanahan, says Elizabeth Creepy Porpoise Welch. This is truly an international show. We have people in Toronto, me, people in Montreal.
Bonjour!
Incroyable! And we also have people in Portland, Creepy Porpoise. And apparently people in Lyland, Andrew Murray, lying to us about the chat not working. If you're curious about this show, there is no chat in the traditional sense because we're using Google Plus, which hates communication. Instead, we're using this Q&A system that's convoluted at best.
Oh,
and
how do I... can't remember my Tumblr password.
Oh, no! Tumblr's... Wait, I don't think it's necessarily a password. Is it because it's not a name or an email? Because sometimes I mixed up with... Because Twitter's like, your name is Twitter, but
yeah, but there was that big virus that happened, and after that I kind of went and changed my passwords. Now I'm like, which password do I have?
Oh, yeah, I'm still in the midst of updating everything ever. We got Creepy Porpoise saying, yeah, it opened up on a link thingy. He's got to use the 9-square box thing in the top right-hand corner of the broadcast area to switch it to Q&A. Well, how about that? So, if you're watching Google Plus right now, be sure to ignore the link thingy, which is garbage, and instead click the 9-square box thing in the top right-hand corner of the broadcast area and switch to Q&A.
What's even happening?
Thank you, Google Plus. Every show is a gift of surprises. You know, in Canada, we have this thing called Kinder Surprise, and they're not allowed to have them in the States because legal laws about non-food products hidden in food. Neither here nor there. You can now all enjoy the experience of a surprise and a surprise thanks to Google Plus. Is it gonna work this week? I don't know. Google Plus. Have fun with maybe your friends.
Possibly your friends.
The reason I'm acting up is because I haven't acted up in a long while because we just got back from a vacation, which the title of this particular episode, I called it Comic-Nom, because as much as Comic-Con's all about comics, it's also a lot about food. We'll get that to into a sec. We got Andrew Murray finally joining us saying, oh, there we go. He's in. We got Yaiba saying, had to manually click Q&A. Yes, there's a new feature if you're watching now on the Google Plus. There's madness. I should just disable that thing altogether. It's awful. It's this weird thing that lets me be like, hey guys, who wants a link? Because in the Q&A, we're not allowed to post links. Thankfully, Creepy Porpoise is on the job. Matthew Pritchard also thanks Creepy Porpoise. Yaiba says, weird the showcase instead of Q&A. Yeah, it's weird. Because on the other hand, I don't even know what you guys see.
Okay, I'm in Tumblr.
Okay, he's in Tumblr. We're sharing the show. It's happening. Oh my gosh. More people will know. We got Alicia Denang saying, oh no, did I miss the opening? No, you didn't. Oh. No, you actually did. Sorry. Sorry, you did. I figured while Katie was in Tumblr, we can like mess around. But if you're just joining us, welcome to Shanahanigans Live. Katie's here. How you? No, Katie's in Montreal, Canada, capital of over there. How's it going?
It's amazing. The reason I'm actually late was I was meeting up with a couple friends at a place called Julia et Chocolat, which was essentially this amazing chocolate crepe chocolate place around the corner from our Airbnb. So we had a couple wines and we were hanging out, and then I was like, oh, I have a live show, and sprinted home.
Oh, good.
But you guys would know these two talented ladies, Genevieve FT on Twitter and Boomeries. She does very cute comics about being a nerdy mom. I think the tagline of her comic is, parenthood has never been so nerdy. And it's adorable and cute, and they're both very talented, and I'm glad they were able to come hang out because it was a lot of fun.
Oh, you just brought all of them on the show, too, and brought some crepes.
Oh, I was thinking about that, but Sam was heading out to a drink and draw, and I'm also very tipsy, so I'm like, I don't know what I was having.
I haven't actually drank in a long while, so we had
a lot of good white wine.
Nice.
This place also has it has a chocolate bar, and essentially it's a whole menu that's chocolate. So there's chocolate liqueurs, and there's a whole bunch of different hot chocolates. So there's kind of it's weird. They have like dark hot chocolates, and then they have their, I forget what the word was, more exotic hot chocolates, where it's hot chocolates infused with a taste of mango.
Oh,
hot chocolate infused with pistachio or cayenne pepper and ginger and cinnamon, and it's pretty nutty. It's really good.
That sounds enjoyable. So I'm just resizing my windows.
I'm just tumbling. It's the post.
So once again, if you do want to join us in the chat, your chat, if you're on Google Plus, there's some weird thing you have to click in the corner because there's a new feature that ruined everything, as per usual. We have a couple of things to cover before we get into our recap. Big news. The biggest news for everyone. If you're follow our show at all, or if you're just from the comic scene, in the Toronto area, but generally in the North American comic scene, you may be familiar with a podcast series called Guys with Pencils, which actually I think one of the creators is watching right now.
I think one of the creators is watching right now.
The illustrious Andrew Murray. And the sometimes bearded, sometimes not bearded Adam Hines, creators and runners of Guys with Pencils. In the recent episode, we're allowed to talk about this, right? It's cool. It was released. They announced episode 1 on 172, I believe, that the show will actually be coming to a close soon. It'll be the finale of Guys with Pencils coming up in episode 175. And it's so we're just before we get the show, I just want to put out there that it's a fantastic podcast. You want to listen to as many episodes as you can. You get to learn a little, get to laugh a little, love, all those things. And it's interesting news that's happening. But and it's all good things have to come to an end, guys. We all have our reasons, but be sure to check out that episode to find out why, because it's live on I believe episode 172.
The answer is because they hate you.
That's
no,
why. Wait, me in general or the listeners?
No, everyone.
Okay, they're like, we're sick of the scene. Fantastic episode, some great guests. We had fun. It's like we've been on the show. It's one of the funnest interviews out there. Like one of the funnest shows.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah, to talk to these guys. Andrew says go for it. He says I can talk smack about you guys. Fine, I will. These guys with their pencils, who do they think? They also had they're bouncing around the Toronto scene. They're hosting a lot of the panels and stuff at the Taffy, as well as some other events. They hosted our first live show, Extra Live, the Halloween episode, which was really fun. I never posted that episode because the problem was we had it filmed with the Canon T3i, which only films in 12-minute increments, and we were handing the camera around to people who didn't know this fact.
So it would just shut down.
So every now and then it cuts out, and people didn't know why, and people were passing the camera.
No.
So there is a version of our live show at the Comic Book Lounge way back in last October, with all of us in costumes, me and Katie dressed as the Gravity Falls characters, and Andrew and Adam as Mario. And Grunkle Stan.
That was an amazing Grunkle
fantastic
Stan.
costumes. So maybe someday we'll post that, but it's just like it's a weird video because it keeps cutting out at like the good parts because of the stupid Canon T3i. But once again, I don't know if there's going to be like a spectacular, I don't know what episode 175. I think it sounds like it's going to grassroots. It's going to be about two guys with pencils just talking it out. Whether it's like a nude episode or something, I don't know. I just heard rumors. People are talking, all bare pencils. It's great, but we'll find out. But be sure to check it out. Subscribe to the show. It will still be available, of course, and you can.
And make sure you tweet them. Ask about nude podcasting.
Yeah. So request hashtag nude GWP is the hashtag coming up for episode 175. And if you get the word out.
I said that was the new direction of the show. It was less guests, more
nudity.
Nudity.
Yeah. This will be a great audio podcast for sure. So check that out. Other big news, of course, in the geeky fan people being awesome stuff. We talked about Kate Sullivan, of course, with her Moon Animate project, the Sailor Moon episode, recreated with hundreds of animators from all around the world, all doing each time there's an edit, it's a different artist. This has been up on YouTube for a good while now, and it's, the last I checked, surpassed 1.16 million views. So that's like 1,100,060. I don't know how the point thing works anyway, but it's over 1 million views, a bunch of views. So congratulations to Kate on that. And this doesn't even count. I believe there's going to be versions uploaded to like Vimeo and then different languages and stuff as well. So this is and it's once again it's a treat. We're in this renaissance of Sailor Moon.
Renaissance.
As they will say where Katie is right now, of Sailor Moon. And this is a special, very extra special kind of treat. Now that Crystal is out, you can have a nice throwback to it's all the old voices are still in it because it's actually an English episode that was taken and just kind of redrawn. You get to see all different art styles. Really fun to watch if you haven't seen it yet. But considering how many viewers there are, I assume you have by now. But if not, check it out. Also in the news, Studio Ghibli, lots of conflicting information about it. Some people saying the studio's shutting down, other people saying it's a halt, an indefinite halt.
Yeah, I think they're taking a break is the general consensus, right?
The general gist was they're taking a bit of a break as well as just kind of managing their IPs for now. So it's not like the Ghibli Museum will go away or there won't be any silly stuff happening. But maybe it's just like a feature film break. So I don't have the definite news yet. It's still kind of out there, I think.
It seems like a lot of it was fan websites, so there was no actual definitive news thing. Just a lot of, oh my God, Ghibli's shutting down. What's happening?
Yeah, and they're not even if they said they're stopping animation, it's not like they're going away entirely. They're doing other things. They have a lot of properties. They're not just selling them all to Disney. I don't think. Interesting. Imagine that, Disney owning another mega corporation property thing. They already have the Muppets, the Star Wars, the Marvels, and the Ghiblis on top of that would just be... That would give me the Ghiblis.
More and more.
It'd just be crazy.
You got the Ghiblis.
Let's see, some other quick news. Ubisoft just announced an Assassin's Creed game for previous gen, Xbox 360 and PS3, finally starring an Irish assassin. Yes, It is. Top of the morning to you all. It's an Irish assassin, my fellow man. Finally, I have representation in video games.
That's
Me
good.
being a middle-class white male finally has an Irish representation in a video.
You poor thing. But you have representation at last.
Yeah, we fought hard. But the interesting...
I'm looking forward to a female assassin, but it just sounds like it's too hard to animate ladies, from what I hear.
Well, okay, so there is female assassins. There is liberty. Yes, liberation. And I believe, I haven't followed up on it yet, but with the new Unity, I do believe they announced a new character, being like, oh my god, please, here's a new character. We're so sorry. But in this case, the interesting twist on this game, on Assassin's Creed, Top of the Morning, whatever the subtitle actually is, I forget, this Irish assassin is actually...
Top of the Morning.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed, so that's the subtitle. He's actually an assassin of assassins. He's hunting down his own kind!
What?
What a twist! So check that out, Ubisoft. And beyond that, Nintendo also just announced a whack ton of interesting stuff for the Zelda Hyrule Warriors. There's a new trailer and a whole new Nintendo Direct, but long story short, playable Ganondorf, that's happening.
That's great.
They already had the trailer for playable Sheik. This is a whack of a cast. And just to quickly go back about like the male-female character ratio, there was so many female characters in this game. This game is looking crazy, with lots of insane combos and powers, lots of great design, and most interesting and also concerning is they're bringing back costumes from like all the previous Zelda games. So you can have Link and Zelda kind of costumed as more Skyward Swordish or Ocarina of Time or Twilight, but at the subtitle in the thing saying this was like exclusive pre-order stuff, which scares me because usually all the other companies have pre-order at Amazon and you get this, pre-order at EB and you get that, and Nintendo never really did that before, so I'm kind of scared. But at the same time, game's looking fun, game's looking hot. Hyrule Warriors, keep up to date. It's looking insane if you like a Zelda, and it's 2 players, so hopefully we'll have some time messing around with that. That's all the quick updates. We just want to get that up before we jump teeth first, face first, sunburn first into our coverage, San Diego Comic-Con 2014. Katie.
I was just going to say, how's your sunburn doing? I noticed you're wearing clothes, so that's good.
This is the first time I've worn a shirt in 3 days.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
I am in pain. But we'll get to that. Let's kick things off with Comic-Con.
Comic-Con.
Thursday. All right, first let's just jump quickly into the chat because we actually have a bunch of things being said. Cal McDonald joining us.
What's up, Cal?
Saying hi. Thank you for the chocolate sundae Pop-Tarts, another Prime product that doesn't exist in Canada.
I brought one to Montreal, but it was in my luggage, and it's the one you gave me, so it's pretty much just crumbled pieces inside a plastic bag, and I want to open it, but I'm just afraid of it exploding all over me. But I will eat it at some point. I just can't put it in a toaster in this state.
Yeah, well, that's never been the case. Like,
highly recommended not.
Well, I brought Kel some like Aero bars and stuff, and even those got like smushed in my bag and stuff. But that being said, Jean just posted a photo of the chocolate I got her because Jean wanted dark chocolate. We have friends in the States who want access to our Canadian goods and services. We exchange with their things like Cookie Crisp. I don't know. The point is, or root beer flavored cookies, which is also
ridiculous.
Those were Mr. Christie, the soft chocolate chip gooey cookies, but root beer flavored, and you're eating root beer. It's weird. Neither here nor there. Our friend Jean, where's the photo? She just posted that she opened one of the chocolates I got her, which was a dark chocolate made in, I believe, Toronto, and hand-painted. Each chocolate hand-painted by this lady who likes to paint her chocolates. And I had no idea what they looked like, so she showed me, and here it is. It's this, like, this blue, I don't know why, the phrase tesseract showed up in my head thinking about it. Yeah. It's this blue chocolate, hand-painted I don't know if there's like inscriptions or
That's
like
amazing.
Da Vinci's Code business going on. But if you want that, you want to come to on College Street, just west of Ossington. There's this chocolate shop that has a lot of imports and a lot of local homemade chocolates, and the darkest of dark, the cocoaest of cow. Chocolate
If that's the same lady painting them, she had one that came out a while ago. They were skulls. They were little tiny chocolate skulls, and they were beautifully painted. But they were filled with one was filled with dulce de leche, and one was filled kind of like a spicy cinnamon kind of ginger thing. But it was just like a beautifully painted skull, and then you just and its flavor. So good.
We got Sarah Raymond a while back saying Quebec City is the capital of Quebec. Tongue face. I think she's correcting me because I said you're in Montreal, which was the main something of somewhere. But my point was, it is the main something over there because that's why you visit. You don't go visit. As nice as Quebec's walled city is, you want to go to a nice, open, friendly town like Montreal, which has comedy festivals. So that's the
we missed those.
Oh well, you missed all those. Point is, I know my Canadian geometry and geography and geology and stuff. I'm good. I know the song. We've sang it before. Provinces of Canada are fun to remember.
But
fun to remember.
They don't sing about the capital cities.
Fun to wait. What?
They don't sing about the capital cities though. They just sing about the
provinces. Shoot, you're right. They don't mention the capitals.
No.
Newfoundland has this place. Nova Scotia, PI.
You start lounge singing as a 8-year-old.
Quebec, Ontario, from there you'll see Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC, Vancouver, British Columbia. We got Drew Murray saying Sailor Mercury was my first cartoon crush as a young lad.
Oh, shut up!
You and me both, unless you count She-Ra.
I love Mercury. She-Ra?
I don't even remember what She-Ra was about. All I know is we had like all the action figures, and I didn't know why, but I'm like, they're about the same size as like the Adam West figurines, so whatever.
Yeah, they can hang out.
They can go on a pirate ship together. That's cool. Man, we invented fan fiction as kids. Like it's like we had all our mashups and stuff. It's like Guile is hanging out with Barbie. Meanwhile, the Gargoyles had this to say to the Sharks.
Watch out! Here comes NSYNC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had it's great. The crossover made more sense. What else were we saying? We also have Creative Report was saying we've just got so many more angles than male assassins. Animating all those extra polygons is tough work. Going back to the Assassin's Creed Unity, I think Ubisoft is trying to fix. Don't let one person said something really dumb and it was the dumbest thing they said. But I think Ubisoft is trying to fix it now.
Yeah,
and it should. Because I doubt they're sticking to that. It's like, we're sticking by what we said. Women are hard to make. It's like, I'm pretty sure Ubisoft isn't going to wave that flag much longer after that statement. It's like, we stick by our guns. And you're like, well, you got to respect them. They don't back down, I guess. They are tricky.
Yeah. I think it's Ubisoft. I was going for a walk, and there's a studio down here, which is, I don't know if it's the main one, but there's a big Ubisoft building.
Probably.
So I was like,
I don't know if I think their main one is in France, but Quebec would be one of the first Canadian ones. Toronto's their newest. Toronto one's nice. It's a nice studio. Kel saying, when I was 6, I wanted to grow up to be Sailor Jupiter.
Aww.
And then when we found out she smoked cigarettes, we're like, this is in the comics?
I think that might have been in one of the comics.
This one ever. And we're like, we grew up on all that stuff like drugs. Which are
good.
Which are bad. Not bad, no.
Ask your mama, ask your dad.
Yeah, I'm also saying, just saw they annotated each artist during their scenes in Moon Animate. Yes, Kate, going back to the Moon Animate project, Kate spent a long, long while adding the YouTube, and I know it, YouTube annotations are pain to work with. It is not an easy system. It's barely frame accurate if you're trying to time it out. But she went in and put a credit on every artist, and that is big ups for that because that is a long process. Just trying to do it for like 3 things on my videos is a pain. Try to do it for 200 edits, 200 plus.
That's some passion.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they did great work. That was a really fun project.
Okay, that's all the questions. Comic-Con.
Comic-Con.
Thursday. No.
Wednesday.
Yes. Wednesday. So we left Wednesday on the 23rd. 4 a.m. we flew out, we did. Not too many stories as far as I'm aware, but one interesting story since we had a stopover on the way there. We had our stopover in San Francisco, which is in the same state, California, as Comic-Con.
We were so close.
You know, we were like, oh, we could just drive from here if we wanted, but truthfully, no, it's still a really long drive. But the point is, same state, and it was only supposed to be like a 1 hour, 2 hour stopover. We were stuck there for like 4+ hours for some reason. What was the reason, Katie?
Obama!
President, you guys as President Obama was flying around Vegas, and because of that, everyone was grounded.
Yeah.
None of us could leave, and we were just there watching our flight getting bombed and bombed.
Yeah, it was a while. Because Obama's like, nope, I'm going to go to Comic-Con and you can't.
Is that what he said?
Except he didn't.
Oh, no, I'm going to go. And nope.
Yeah.
Thanks, Obama. Anyway, that was our first story of the con, just being stuck.
You can't ground me, Obama.
Wasn't
You're
too bad
not
being
Dad.
Wasn't too bad being stuck in San Francisco because there was like the Gertie's chocolate. What's it called? Gerberty.
Oh, the fancy little squares, yeah.
Gabardagoo's chocolate tier Gerberber. We just hung out there and ate all their chocolates. They had free chocolates, which was nice. We got Courtney Lunn jumping in saying, "Hey Shaggy, sorry if you mentioned this already. We just tuned in a couple of minutes ago. But what swag did you get? We're getting to that. What swag at Comic-Con did you get to make me jealous this year? We're getting to that because I'm going to try to do this chronologically. It's going to fall apart spectacularly.
You know what? I actually took notes, so maybe I will grab my notebook in case we slip anything.
Okay.
Or I'll remember it. I'll remember it. It's all good.
Wing it. So basically, Wednesday, our travel day, usually we arrive on time to like give us much time to like settle into the hotel and then get in line, get our ticket, grab a food after, then go mess around on preview night. But we actually arrived when preview night already started at this point, so we kind of had to like, I guess we didn't eat dinner. We just went straight in, didn't we?
Well, we were hoping to be there by, 2, and then the con starts at 5, but we got there at like 5:30.
Yeah, so like the con was a lot of work, and like
the doors already open.
And the thing about preview night, so Comic-Con has usually it says it's like a 4-day con. It's technically 5 because preview night, though the public doesn't go, all the journalists and pros get to go in, and it's just as crowded. And most people are already selling stuff anyway. Certain items, some tables are still very like, oh, we don't sell it till Thursday. But some places are like,
let me tell you, the only thing, I didn't really have a lot of stuff I wanted to get, but the pop figures had the exclusive Hannibal pop figure, and I was like, I like the show, I want to get this. By the time we got around to the pop figure booth, and we went there pretty soon, people were coming out with bags of the exact same
bags of boxes of figurines.
Yeah. So, and then the lineup to get in there was capped. You couldn't even get in line. So I was like, no, I'm not going to end up getting anything.
And this is like the back left corner of the whole convention center, which I guess is the southeastern corner, which is near like the We Love Fine, the Wong Fu table. I think also, oh gosh, what's her name? Vampy Bit Me, the cosplayer table was there and stuff like that. And like right beside it was the vinyl, what are they called? Funko pop figure.
Funko, yeah.
And that was kind of the only table we wanted to like line up at all this show. Because this year I wanted to keep it really simple. Like previous years, I had lists of all the swag I wanted to line up and buy and not resell, just like so I can have and be like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah, because we appreciate our stuff.
in previous years, it was like, you know, the not Harry Potter, the Scott Pilgrim figure with the coat, you know, ooh, exclusive. And I get there on the Wednesday and they're like, oh, we're not selling it yet. I'm like, damn it to hell. And then the next day it's like, oh, it's sold out. I'm like, damn it to hell.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, previous Comic-Con scores I got was like the dolphin from Archer, the blue edition.
I remember that one too. You ran for that table and we're like, I gotta get this dolphin.
Well, last year that was the first thing I did because we got in on time and I'm like, okay, step 1, get to the factory direct table. Line up for Archer. Good. Step 2, run to the Bandai table and get the stupid Dragon Ball sensor things. I don't even watch the show. I don't know why I'm here. I got one though. And like that was last year, but this year I'm like, no more. The only thing I had on my list was the Archer Horror Island towel. That was all I wanted.
That was a good one. That came in really handy too.
Yeah, I got it. I'm not gonna show you guys because it's like folded up somewhere.
Yeah, even at the beach, it was able to fit 3 of us just sitting.
Yeah,
perfect. Very practical.
Unless Helen is able to find the Archer Horror Island towel, on the rack near the kitchen. Just saying.
If only Helen would find it.
So Wednesday was kind of a wash as far as purchases go, but you know what? We just kind of got in and just kind of wandered, and after being, like, basically being up for how many hours at this point?
From 4 a.m. till it closed at, what, 7 or something on preview night?
Yeah.
8
So,
or
like,
so?
we were, what did we do that night? This was Wednesday.
We ended up going to Thai food with Kazoo and Jason and Dave and Raina and Bannister and
that was like the best Thai
Gavin
food ever.
and Selena and Helen.
Okay, so let me tell you about this Thai food place.
Thai food at Rama Thai.
Now, here's the setup. Have you ever walked into a restaurant and thought, am I in a freaking Disneyland ride? What's going on here? Because we entered this Thai food place with, like, ribbons and whatever in the entrance, roped off, and, like, they take us down the long hallway, and it starts smelling like pool water. I'm like, where the hell are we going? We end up in this giant back room with ribbons streamed across the tops and hanging down the sides, statues and shapes, and a wall that is a waterfall. That's just going, and there's lights, and there's water, and it's like the most incredible back room I've ever been into as far as a restaurant goes, like in my life. And I'm so happy they had that reservation. It was really good.
Yeah, the food was so good, and the location was really nice. And it was perfect. We were falling asleep though. So much jet lag. I think all of us had been up since some crazy hour to get there.
So we're all at this place, and the food portions, which I don't think we realized at the time, I think were meant for sharing. Because I'm like, ooh, pineapple fried rice. That sounds nice. Just a little bowl of pineapple fried rice. That'll do me well. And what shows up was, like, basically 3/4 of a real pineapple with the top cut off and the middle's filled with pineapple rice and, like, chicken and all this other stuff, unbeknownst to me. And it's just like, and, like, 2 of us at the table had this. It was me and Bannister. And, like, we had these pineapples just sitting in front of us, and we was like, and, like, I guess so. And we just start going. And I felt so bad because I couldn't even finish it. It was so much food. I'm like, does anyone want some of this gutted pineapple, like some food? Is this really good?
The mango chicken was so good.
Oh, what was? It was because the mangoes were so soft in that. Yeah. They just melted.
So good.
It was really good. This is why this show is called. I didn't put it down the title here.
Comic-Nom.
Yeah, I didn't put it down here in case people didn't get it, so I'm gonna rename it right now. Comic-Nom recap. There you go. Because the food is the second most important, if not first most important part of Comic-Con. Because we make sure every night
or any travel
we get something different. We want to try everything the city has to offer. Like, basically, this is where none of my money went to swag. It all went to food. And not just like, oh, let's go to Subway, let's get a hot dog. No, this was like, let's get lavish, enjoy ourselves. So I guess that was kind of Wednesday, because it was kind of like a long day, late night. Did I end up actually buying anything? I think the one thing I bought, I think, was that day. If not, it was another day. I think I did. I ran by both the tables, so I think I got my Archer Horror Island towel, which there's a picture of it on Twitter. Yeah. But I also got myself a little Pikmin. Oh no! It's the red Pikmin! Oh no, it is! And this actually hurts when it's in the face! I don't know why it's there! This was at this table that's in the front. It's near, like, the halls, near Hall A, B, the kind of video game anime side, because it is kind of segmented, everything. And near the front, they just had all of these Animal Crossing plushies and Pikmins and Pokemons, and it's just like the nicest table if you like plushies. And it's the only one I saw that had all the Pikmin. They actually had the blue, the yellow. I later actually picked up a yellow one for Jason because I knew he likes the Pikmin, but he wouldn't have the time to get away from his table. What other things? Just like the purple, the white, all the Pikmin were there, but I had to get myself a little red one. He's precious. And he just, I don't know, he's got this mile-long stare. They just don't know what he's thinking about.
What's going on in there, Pikmin? What's happening?
Yeah, what's he thinking about? What's going on with nature? So that was Wednesday. Thursday.
I'm gonna get my notebook.
I'm trying to think, like, at this point, did panels and stuff start already at this point, or? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Sorry, we're just going over our notes because this is, I guess, just a preface for this time around, Comic-Con and previous years. This is like my fourth time going to San Diego. In the previous times, it was just going to like go nuts. I was running around going, "Oh my gosh!" and stuff like that. And it's like it was between that and working at the Bolt City / flight tables with the flight anthology because it was the first year for us was Flight Volume 7, the second year was Flight Volume 8. We missed the year after that. Then the third year was kind of us just bumbling around. So this year was actually kind of like a learning year for me. I was going to all these more educational panels, these business panels, these industry panels, just to try to learn what the hell I'm doing in life and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see. Did I actually go to any panels on Thursday is the question.
For Thursday, I wrote kind of a blur. I wanted to check out Geek and Sundry, but the lineups went around the block. They were all too big. We went to the Sergio and Mark show.
Was that Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see if I have notes then, because I have... So Thursday was kind of the start of panels day. I was pretty much done with the show floor by Thursday, funny enough, because I saw mostly everything I needed to see. But we would go back later to do more, of course. Let's see, Comic-Con notes, Wednesday the thing, Vanilla Vodka... Oh, what was this? Oh, that was a drink I had, going back a sec, at the Thai place. It was vanilla vodka, Thai iced tea, and half and half. It was great, I had two of them. Let's see. Breaking into comics now. I think some of the panels I went to a bunch of like Boom Studios was hosting some panels. There was like a breaking into comics, and they had another one. Was it about pitching or something? Or it was kind of essentially I went to a lot of comic panels that have a lot of similar themes, and you start realizing something in the long run. But maybe we'll get to this at the end of it all. Like people saying certain things like, you know, sticking to it and go through the hardship. You have to make your own luck because like luck is not as much about someone giving you an opportunity as much as it is about you being in the position, putting yourself in places that people will notice you to give you those opportunities. You know, so like luck is rarely like someone out of nowhere just being like, hey, you want to make comics? And like, sure, and like, here you go, a contract. It's like more.
How did you know I wanted to make comics?
It's more of you putting yourself out there for the possibility of someone randomly finding you, you know, because that's the other side of outside of you actually like pitching and stuff. But one of the panels is breaking into comics now. It's talking about comic pitches being 5 or 6 page samples. It's don't wait for people's permission, you know, just keep making comics. A lot of stuff we already kind of know. And the interesting one was
because it's like just keep doing what you're doing, but it's also a lot of scary advice because it can feel like if you're not there yet, it can feel a little disheartening. But the thing is, you have to stick through that. Like I think that's what a lot of people deal with is, is this going anywhere? It's like you just have to keep doing it.
The neat one they said was you have to be a part of a comic community, and it was in the sense of not necessarily like you have to be best friends and hang out at everyone's houses, but it's kind of like you're engaging with like-minded people. You're helping each other out, and in that respect, you also see each other grow, and you're giving each other opportunities. Because as you know, if you have kind of this base group of like people all in the same interest, and you're all fighting towards it, one of them's going to find something out that may not be for them, and they can tell the other person, and then this person goes up to here, and then you're all kind of like, in video game terms, leveling up together in an interesting way. Let's see, cold approach. There's something about the cold approach. I forgot. Some of these notes are really vague. It was saying like, I want to pitch to you. Here's a sample of my work, and it's like something you've done, you know. So, and this one was interesting. Someone said that, as far as being a writer, if you want to get your work out there, and you have like all these ideas, you could. There's a neat trick someone did. I forget his name, who they said, but he made this writer's anthology basically, where he wrote like, 14 or so really short stories, and he was the writer. Like normally in a lot of anthologies we're a part of, it's kind of like all different people. There's a writer, artist, blah, blah, blah. It's like 15, 16 teams or individuals working on individual stories. What this guy did was he wrote all of like the 15 stories and got different artists, brought in different artists for each one. And so he made an anthology that was essentially pitches for every little story he had in his mind, so that he can go out there with different like genres, different themes. Because it's also when you're going to comic companies, you want to figure out what they want. It's not just I want you to print my story. It's like what genres do these guys tackle most, or asking them directly, what genres are you looking for? Like, what kind of story are you looking for? These guys might be like, well, with Sailor Moon coming back, we also want a magical girl story. And I know there's also that perspective of you don't want to chase what's hot, because by the time you make it, it's not hot anymore. But there is a certain steam time that people do still want to like have similar things done. So it's like, oh, werewolf time. I want a werewolf story too. It's like, I happen to have one because I made 15 short stories and one of them was about werewolves. What do you think of this? And it was just that idea of if you're a writer and you feel like you're not getting enough out, you could make an anthology, and if you have enough people interested to work with it, whether you're paying them or it's like a divided creative ownership or something like that, I'm not sure. That's up to you to figure out. But yeah, it was kind of, that was like a really neat idea. And here's an interesting thing. Number one is not talent, it's reliability. It's delivering on time. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you can't get those comics done on time for these people, then they're not going to work with you.
I think especially on the comic turnarounds seem to be very fast, but it's like when your final art comes in, it's like going to print. With animation, it's like there's so many different setups that it's like, it feels like there's a bit more, I mean, it sounds like there isn't because there's so many steps relying on you, but there's a bit more leeway because it's such a giant production. But with a comic, it's like, well, I mean, you have to make sure you get it to colors as well, or inks if you're not doing inks. But it's like, it's kind of almost like an issue a month, right? Like they're turning around so quick.
Oh, you mean for like the? I guess so, yeah. Like I don't actually know what the comic workflow is. I'd be curious to see like how far in advance they're all done before they start printing like a series.
You know what? I think it's about the same actually. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like animation and it's everything. Everything is due yesterday, regardless of what you're working in.
So just to recap, if you guys are just joining us, we're going to be talking about the Thursday of Comic-Con. I basically spent the whole day going to panels. There was like a panel after each panel. Like I was going to every room I could, hitting every topic and I was kind of hitting three major topics. It was writing, pitching, and like voice work, as well as like agents and stuff like that too. Quickly, Tyler just deleted the question he had, but he's asking about the guitar behind you.
Oh, this is the Airbnb of the person we're staying with. So you can see a guitar over here, a nice Bob Marley, and knives. So he's also got a map on the other wall that's got all these push pins everywhere he's gone and a bunch of really cool compasses, and a really cool bookshelf, but everything's in French, and I'm not a very good French reader, so I'm like, But yeah, this feels like the place of a guy who likes to travel a lot.
Now, there's something I will talk about, kind of a lot of the themes that came up in a lot of these panels. But there's an interesting divide here. The one I just talked about was a Boom Studios one, talking about writing and breaking in. And from their perspective, they're like saying, we want you guys to succeed. We're like, when we get your pitch packages and stuff, we're like looking for like the good stuff. So like try to make it as good as possible. On the inverse, I went to another panel about pitching that was ran by the Top Cow guys.
Oh, so I thought this was the same panel.
No, it was a different panel. Their perspective was, we're looking for reasons not to read your pitches. So I'm going to put this out there for you guys. You cannot predict the mentality of the people who are getting your pitch packages, because they're getting lots of them. Some people are kind of like nourishing in the way of like looking for something solid. Other people are looking for reasons to drop it as soon as possible. So it's like you really got to know who you're pitching to, because this panel was all about pitching, and it kind of lended more to film, oddly enough, than it did comics, even though it kind of covered everything. But some of the things they're saying is in a 10-minute pitch, be it like in person or the package or whatever, you have 30 seconds to get the understanding across. And that's the idea of, like, I know you have your amazing fun world and all these details and stuff you want to get across, and all the cultures and races and backstory and stuff like that that's in your fantasy, epic, opera. But if you don't get the basic story across in the first 30 seconds, you've lost them. You have to make it relatable. You have to make it human, even if it's alien characters. Who is like? I'm not sure if I'm mixing up panels and stuff I went to, but the idea was, it's the main character that brings people into the story that you have to identify with and stuff. So in that respect, you have to sell that character more than anything else that's going on. So if you have this large epic, it's like, who is leading you through this epic, and why should we care about them? That's why character sells, in some people's opinions, according to the panels I went to, why the character sells the pitch more than the story to a degree. And they talked about stuff we talked about before, having the shorthand, like the cross-sell is a big deal, because people like to hear, oh, it's like Game of Thrones meets Aquaman or whatever, and it's like that gives you the idea of what's going on.
You can get there quicker than having to sit there and listen to a pitch that you're like, what is this?
Yeah, yeah. Inferno only those, and they're talking about stuff like when it comes to like movies pitches. A lot of directors do these interesting things. I've seen one before actually. It's really neat. Directors do a lot of things where if they want to pitch a movie but they haven't shot anything yet, of course, they'll take clips of all these other movies and TV shows and stuff that sell the same emotion and visual idea and cut it together to like music to give you like the feel, to make kind of like a fake trailer of pre-existing content. And I saw one before that was really neat. That was I forget who it was, but they're
so essentially they're making AMVs.
In a way, yeah, they're making like an anime music video mashup, but to sell their idea, being like it's going to be like this. It's like the cross-sell of visual arts.
I can see that being very powerful because there's some fan-made music videos that are just like, oh, feels so good, like that Community one.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just so well made.
The one I saw, which you guys should check out, was this guy was trying to like reboot, Daredevil, but as like, because nowadays, all these like Marvel characters were like set in hard-boiled, Hell's Kitchen, New York, and stuff like that, and it's like a very different place nowadays. It's not really the same thug-filled kind of like, 70s taxi driver or whatever movie scenario. But this guy was trying to sell like a 70s version of Daredevil. And he did this by intercutting shots of Daredevil from like the movie with Ben Affleck, as well as a lot of like hard-boiled movie clips of like Hell's Kitchen and stuff from other movies.
Oh yeah, you see that stuff on Tumblr all the time, where people will take the actors in different movies and kind of merge them all together, and it's kind of something like this. And I've seen that with like 40s Avengers or something, and they take every scene from a movie with those characters in like a 1940s gangster movie or something similar like that, and mash them together.
And that's basically, it works very well in selling things. People are saying, just to remind people, if you're watching right now on the Googly Plus, people are saying, tweeting they can't comment. On the Q&A, there's a box with boxes in it I think you're supposed to click, because Google introduced this new thing that you guys have to manually switch between. It's like whether we're able to post links or post chat, you have to switch it. So if you're watching right now and you want to join the Q&A, you have to click that box and change it up. Tyler was saying from a little bit ago that this is a super helpful episode.
Good.
I'm glad it's helping. I hope it's all.
Yeah,
I have so
really
many notes.
Panels.
I'm just getting there. I hope this isn't boring to you guys, because this is all interesting to me. Yeah, this is what he was saying when pitching. It's character first, no matter how crazy your world is. That's what people identify with. The best pitch is quick and simple. So places that are looking for any reason to stop reading your pitch, they will. So keep it quick and simple. This one was interesting for me. Links are better than files. So if you're sending someone your comic, often it's better to have, it was more about video, I suppose, like having a YouTube video versus like, here's a video file, I compress it so it fits your email. Because also, I don't know if people trust giant files in their emails.
Yeah.
But even like with me, I've been sending like voice reels around to agencies, but it's all like in the email. I'm trying to build a proper site now. So
I think having a site works better too, because it shows you are willing to put the time and effort into building a web presence, and that's what they like. It's like at this day and age, if you can't bother to put up a Tumblr or a like the simplest kind of thing, it's kind of like, well, what, you just have all these files sitting on a computer, like you can't bother to put it up. Like it makes it easier for them, and then again, they don't have like a 20 gigabyte email waiting for them in the morning that's like, I don't want to click this.
I completely forgot to mention, this is also something I bought. This hat. I got it at Comic-Con. Sarah says, why, Google, why? I know. Courtney, there's a bunch of questions popping up, but we'll get to these in a sec. I just want to finish off this panel on pitching from the Top Cow guys. They're also saying the thing I just mentioned a little bit before. Before you pitch, go to these companies and say, what kind of projects are you looking for? And they may get back to you and be like, we're looking for a hard-boiled angel girl saves a guy's life, and then they all fly away.
I don't know if they'll be that specific to tell you the amazing story that like J.K. Rowling's like, what are you looking for? Like wizard school with some kids.
Scholastic's like, we're just leaving this book about a kid who lives under the stairs.
But certain publishers will approach them and they'll be like, we are looking at the market for stories for kids 9 and under about families, or we are looking for YA romance fantasies. You know what you're pitching to.
We're looking for something kind of like Taken by the T-Rex, but for the new generation. We're like, yeah, all right, right on that. Top Cow Talent also has searches. Image has submissions. There's talent searches and submissions and stuff too, of course. Agreements online. And basically asking questions. This was the very interesting one for all of you guys to listen to. Sometimes it's cool to ask, when should I follow up with you? The extreme version of this was the guy was saying this one time he was on an airplane, and he got 3 emails from the same guy within the trip, being like, hey, here's my pitch. A couple hours later. Hey, have you seen my pitch yet? A couple hours later. Why haven't you responded to me yet?
No, that's crazy.
So we know the people who receive all these pitches are crazy busy as it is, and we know when applying for jobs, people say follow up, follow up, follow up. The one thing I never heard before was ask when to follow up.
Yeah, and if you haven't asked, I'd say that a week is a good amount of time to get back to someone. Unless it's some insane pressing thing that, like, if you guys don't take it, this other company's going to take it. Like, I think a week is, sometimes you get busy, but a week is like, oh gosh, I haven't gotten back to them in a week. Okay, yes, I'll get back to them.
Okay, so far, I guess to clarify, so the first panel I talked about, I don't have too many notes, but it was called Editing the Boom Way, so it was more about being editors of comics. It was interesting because I was talking about like the relationship between the editor and the comics creators and stuff. The second one was Breaking into Comics Now, which is also hosted by the same people. And the third one, which we just talked about, was Pitching, which was hosted from some of the guys from Top Cow. So before we move on, let's jump into the questions a bit because we have a lot more panels. I want to jump into this. If it can help you guys out at all, that's fine. If you're already way more successful than any of us here, and this is boring to you, I apologize.
Start chiming in and help us out.
We got Tyler saying the only thing showing up in Google is Showcase, which is empty because it says you haven't added anything.
Weird.
So I don't know why it says Showcase, because right here it's called Showcase. Interesting. Okay, so right now, if you're watching and you want to chat because you're like, I want to tell them things. A, if you're on YouTube, your comments are useless because they do not show up on Google+. B, if you're on Google+, by default, there's this stupid new thing you're probably seeing called Showcase, which allows us to share links, which we're not doing right now because we're at the Q&A. So you got to change the thing to do the Q&A. Thank you, Google+.
I like that I keep switching stuff just randomly.
Oh, it's so fun. Next week we'll be using Video Blob. I don't know, some other service.
I like Video Blob.
Yeah. Elizabeth corrected us a while back. Up with 3 votes. She's winning so far. Ghirardelli chocolates. Ghirardelli chocolates.
That sounds about right.
I got the pumpkin spice. And Selena got the raspberry chocolate filled. So there you go. Very nice. A very nice San Francisco treat. Sarah's saying it's very interesting. These words, which I slavishly spent a whole Thursday gathering. I think I took a break Friday and messed around. Saturday we hid from the con, and then Sunday I went to more panels, but we'll get to that in a sec. We have lots of time to waste. Isn't that right? Katie, what are you working on?
I'm inking all the panels of a sequence of Silly Kingdom pages. So these are slowly going. I brought these to Comic-Con, so I'm still working my way through them. My goal was to finish these by the end of Comic-Con, but we were so chock full of just things every day that I have. The most I've gotten to is 1 page.
It was your holiday. You shouldn't have brought them at all, honestly. It was
but I figured there'd be times where we were hanging out on a patio where it was just like dialogue ran dry and you're just like, then I could just start inking.
That didn't happen. That patio was a pool.
Yeah, it was amazing.
We'll get to that in a bit because we're going day by day. We're still in Thursday, so if you're wondering, we're in Thursday. We got Kel saying, I usually wait a month before bugging an editor again.
That's good.
So there you go.
That's for like a pitch solicitation, I guess.
Yeah. We got Sarah saying, the best thing to do when you can't reply to an email immediately is to write, I have read your email, I will get back to you shortly.
That's what I do. Sometimes I just can't get to it, but if I'm like, I've read this, because otherwise sometimes you forget. And sometimes I'll say too, this is mostly to people writing me asking questions if I'm in the middle of a deadline. Just like if I don't get back to you in a week, feel free to remind me because I might just be in some totally different zone. Because sometimes you're working and you're just dealing with editor feedback and you're dealing with your director and you're trying to get stuff done. You're like, haha, deadline, and you forgot about that question about school or something.
Yeah. We got Courtney asking, Katie, would you mind giving us a quick rundown of how Airbnb works? I find it kind of confusing.
Basically, Airbnb, if you're able to
How it
get a
should
place,
work.
is you sign up on the site, and in order to be verified, you have to you have to verify yourself with the Airbnb site. So that's kind of like scanning a picture of your passport or driver's license, and so that won't be shared with anybody else. But it's so Airbnb knows you're not some fakey person. Like they can look that you're a legitimate person. You're not making this up. But essentially, how it
Basically,
works is
no giant orgies allowed, which is a true story when it comes to Airbnb.
So that wasn't anything we dealt with, but it was a story that Jerry read on the internet where the horror story, which you never really want to happen because there's this great thing in Airbnb where you leave reviews so that you know a place is good or that a client is good. But I think it happened in New York somewhere where a guy rented an Airbnb out to a fella who was like, oh, I have some relatives in town for a wedding and I want to rent your Airbnb. He was like, cool. So he was like, yeah, here's the key. And then the guy who owned the apartment went to dinner. And then he was like, oh, I got to pick up some bags. And when he came back to his apartment, there was a full-on orgy that was being broken up by building security because it was so loud.
And this was day one. The weekend hadn't even started yet.
And then he found out, this is terrible. This is going to make no one want to open an Airbnb, but like, the people who threw the orgy were sending invites out on the internet to like come to this and this address for like some crazy party.
Yeah.
Oh, awful. Anyways, Airbnb is a great place where you can rent out your apartment to complete strangers.
Airbnb. Join today.
Why I like it better than hotels is because a hotel is kind of like a giant condo complex in the middle of wherever they can build it, but an Airbnb gives you a chance to feel what it's like to live in a neighborhood. So when we were staying in Seattle, we were in Knott Hill or something like that, which was a really nice trendy area. So it was nice to be able to feel like you lived in a house there, and you could go check out all the restaurants, and it's kind of a way to feel like you're living in a new city. So in Montreal, our place is amazing. Like it's a small little place, but the neighborhood is amazing. I love this area so much.
And make sure you don't want to spend much time at the Airbnb. Like,
you're never going to spend much time. So technically, it's supposed to be. It should be cheaper than a hotel, and it kind of gives you.
It should be less than 90 usually. You want to aim for less than 90 a night if you can.
Yeah, and it gives you some more character. That it's not, all hotels all look the same. It's the same bed or two beds with the cabinet and the stuff.
And the damn leaf soap.
Yeah, I'd say the negative is like. You don't get unlimited towels or pillows, but I mean, you can deal.
Or there's helicopters flying over your head all night. We'll get to that.
You were staying and
you're beside an
intersection with helicopters and motorcycles and 40.
Know your intersections. We'll get to that.
Do your research. But yeah, essentially you apply to a place, and then how it usually works is the person writes back and goes, yes, you can have my place because I marked it on my calendar as being free and available. So you're like, yes, I will take this week. What sometimes happens is if you're me and you apply to 5 different places in Montreal and everyone's calendar says they're free and then for some reason they're like not interested in having you there, you start to feel like maybe it's a bit more of a courting thing where it's when you're supposed to just write about yourself and say hi, you're supposed to describe how amazingly cool you are and why you should stay in this person's house.
You're not pitching yourself right, Katie. You got to do a cross-sell.
Yeah.
Who are you? I'm kind of like Sarah Michelle Gellar and...
Well, hey, Jerry. Yeah. What was your pitch for this place? You just said bonjour.
It was his last name. That was his pitch.
Yeah, he said you and I were traveling to Toronto, or from Toronto to Montreal for the week. And
his last name is also French, so...
Yeah. He needed to finish making his profile, and they got him right away.
Yeah, essentially what happened was I was rejected from 5 different places. And then Jerry was in the middle of making his profile, and the guy was like, yes, please stay at my house.
Yeah. He hadn't even loaded a photo yet. And he's like, I don't care. I like your name, kid. You got panache.
Yeah.
That's how Airbnbs work.
That's how Airbnbs work.
Just for the quick scale, if you're looking for the cheap travel, I know there's other services too, but basically it's kind of like hostels are kind of like the 20 to 40 range. Airbnb can be like averaging 90 is what we look for, but it can go up higher, and then hotels are like 200 plus.
The thing with Airbnb that I like too is you can rent a whole house. So the place we're staying at is a whole apartment. Sometimes Airbnb you can just get a room in a house, so it's a little more, it's not as private. What I like is getting a whole house. And if you go on the site, sometimes you can just go forever just searching for things. There are whole manors in Tuscany where it's like, you can get this 15-room villa in the middle of Tuscany for 200 a night. I'm like, what is this? What's the catch? There's something. Yeah. There's got to be something. And then it's always like, we're going to have a comic castle hangout.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, we should get like a castle in Germany and just be like,
I really want to.
Say Guar, let's go. Overlook the water.
I think it would be freezing, though.
Quickly, we got Sarah asking, Katie, are you visiting Montreal for a fun or for a business trip?
Well, fun for the first time. I usually only travel for business. I mean, it's fun. You know, when we go to cons, it is for pleasure as well as business, but there's no comic focus on this trip other than I'm popping into bookshops and visiting comic friends. So there's no convention here. Mostly we just wanted to get away, and we like this place, and we're here till Saturday, and it's been super good so far.
Now that we've had the break, get your learning caps back on. We've got Andrew Murray asking, I heard a really good way to pitch something is to basically tell it the way you would tell a friend about a really good movie. Sell it that way. Mm-hmm. Let's test this theory, shall we, with a movie I watched on the airplane, Divergent. Okay, so let me get this straight. Okay. So this movie's kind of like if you took the sorting hat from Harry Potter but stretched it out for 30 minutes, and then you have a bunch of people running around and there's a romance that there's really no reason for that romance because I don't see what they have in common. Katie.
So good. So good.
Divergent. Watch it now.
I love it.
Hey, you have the power to be whatever.
My favorite is me and Helen are watching it, and then we look back at you, and you're just like, and I'm like, did you see the part where they all jump off the train? It's amazing.
Yeah, all of us watched Divergent on the plane for some reason.
I think you were right. The beginning was boring, but it's as soon as she's like entering Rocky, and she's like, I gotta not be number 0. I'm like, okay, I'm getting this. This. And the guy's like, I have cool tattoos, and like,
I have a dumb name.
And I kind of look like Biff from Back to the Future, but I'm not sure who I look like, and I'm like, who is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I had fun.
We'll have a much longer sit down about this at some point. Well, we'll sit down and have the what's the after show? What's the pun? It's called like usually the after shows have a pun name, like something like that.
Do we have after shows with pun names?
Oh no, we don't.
But like
the 100 show was supposedly going to be called I Got 99 Problems, but the 100 ain't one, or something like that. That was going to be our after show where we discussed the 100 episodes as they happen. Neither here nor there. Let's go back to Thursday Comic-Con panels. Once again, I was in panels all day, folks. Mm-hmm. So if this is helping you, I hope it is, because now we're moving on to breaking into animation writing. I don't have the names of the people who were on the panel, but they're all legit. The majority of this panel was actually people working on the new Garfield series. So if you know who they are, rock on. One of them was saying, put yourself close to the people you want to develop for. And in this respect was a lot of the people who got into writing an animation, some of them were like answering phones at the animation studio was their first job.
Yeah.
And this is in comparison to answering phones at a veterinarian, where that probably won't get you up the animation ladder. So if you're going to take a basic job of some sort, make it in the field that you want, even if it's not the job you want.
It's like you kind of look at, I would say someone like Kate Lett, who's doing amazing work as a comic writer right now. Like, she worked in a comic book shop, so I mean that gives you access to a lot of reading material, and then in comic shops there are events too where people will come and do pitches, and it gives you a chance to kind of meet people and talk to people in the industry. So it's working in a comic shop and writing versus maybe working in I don't know, I was going to say a deli and writing, but that's fine too because you need to do your day job as well. But it's maybe positioning yourself in a place where you have access to people interested in the same thing.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, though, is all the writing podcasts I listen to, they do make it sound like in order to write for TV, you really have to get out to LA.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Which is, yeah. Okay.
Kind of disappointing, but that's...
It is. I don't hear that about anything else because the nature of the internet is so huge, but there's something about Hollywood that still feels very analog. It is just going to parties, hanging out, meeting people. It's
yeah. There's a lot of mentions in later panels saying like they don't want you uprooting your lives and spending all your money just to go out to LA because that could just fall apart tremendously.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
but if you really cared about writing,
in the writing and acting fields for TV and film, it's like New York or LA, and that's kind of it. Animation's a little different. No.
Animation's
Alright, comics is way different.
Comics you could be
everywhere.
Anywhere. Comics you could be everywhere.
Film, you kind of have to be, if you're in America at least. I don't know about Canadian animation, you have to be in Edmonton.
That said, big thing about comics is conventions too, and I mean maybe not as big as having a presence on the internet, but actually going out to places and meeting people, that's also a big thing.
Proximity and relationships, that's kind of segueing. Networking, classes. Classes could lead to strong connections. A lot of times the professor of said classes will see your work and be like, hey, I can use you on this show. So, and if not that, the other people in your classes are branching off. We've talked about this before, how some people debate the usefulness of universities and stuff, whether it's like, oh, I can learn all this on my own. But the networking nature of the universities is everyone's going to split up, go to their own jobs, hear about something, be like, oh, I know a guy who could do that. And then they like
a lot of times that's
you.
The biggest thing. And I've heard, I was listening to an account of a guy who, he was like a mature student who was working in animation, and he found he wasn't getting gigs he wanted to get. And he was kind of shy. But he was trying, but he was finding like he just wasn't getting where he wanted to go. So he actually like decided to go back to school at CalArts, which is a very expensive school. It's about $40,000 a semester, U.S. money.
Eesh.
And I mean, it's a good school, but like that's hard student debt to pay off when because you're not going to graduate and be directing at Pixar. You know, you're going to be working your way up. But he found just going back to school got him those contacts, and being with the students was an easy way. Because otherwise, you have to like be really disciplined. Go out to all these network events and actually, you know, don't just hang out, but go out and try and meet everybody and make an impression. And that's hard to do in one night versus maybe easier to do over a semester where you guys are hanging out all the time, and maybe you have a chance to meet everybody and hang out and grab lunch with everybody at least once. You have to be super on your A game, which I think is hard, especially for artists who are a little more introverted. You know, we like to just hang out and draw. So it's like, this is the one night I have to meet everybody and be super on my game.
If you are going the mono a mono route, it doesn't have to necessarily be at parties, because those are often actually really bad to talk to people because of the music, depending on where you go. But you're just contacting people in the industry and asking if they want to go out for coffee or that you're going to buy them some sort of drink. The interesting note is anything that takes these people out of their offices so that they can talk about themselves, they will love to do it. Anything that makes them sound important. So it's like, this kid wants me to, like, you know, it's not always going to work, but I'm just saying, like, there is something about, like, if someone at some point contacted me and was like, hey, I'll buy you a beer and we could talk, I'd be like, oh my god, he's going to buy me a beer.
Of course.
Of course I want to leave the office and you buy me a beer. Sandwiches too, please. That can happen. Once again, none of this is guaranteed. This is just general notes.
This is stuff that's worked for other people.
More on the writing.
Could work for you, but yeah.
Could work. More on the writing side, writing a spec a month. This is once again about cartoon writing. Writing a spec script a month and getting people to look at it. So be sure to, like, this goes back to the main core thing, if you want to write. Don't write when someone tells you to be like, oh, you can do a script for me now. Just keep writing scripts. Write them for your favorite shows, for the shows you don't like. Write them for everything. Show that you can write in different styles, different characters, and different people. This can apply to comics too. If you want to not necessarily write your own comic, but want to write for other people's comics, like say an Archie or say something for Boom or something for Marvel, keep writing those stories yourself. In the meanwhile, it may feel like a fan fiction per se, and I don't know if you want to like post it or not. That's entirely up to you. But the idea of you just knowing those characters is something to like practice. You know, just getting used to how they interact, as opposed to being like, I want to write for Deadpool someday. Oh, someday I will. It's like, well, why haven't you yet? Just write your own Deadpool stories. Show them to your friends. Show them the friends who know Deadpool, the friends who don't know Deadpool, and get the response from them to see if one person's like, oh, I get this character now. Because going back to Stan Lee and writing the Marvel way, every comic book is someone's first comic book. So you want to write that kind of way, that like it's kind of helping people along. It's good stuff. Another job as far as proximity is being a writer's assistant. That's probably one of the biggest ways of getting your foot in the door, because you're hanging out with these writers. I don't know if you get to go to all the meetings, but you're dealing with everything they deal with in proximity. Do it.
I think writers, and then there's also like, is it writer's assistant or agent's assistant? Like the agent's assistants are the ones that are actually reading all the pitches.
Well, there was is it John Hodgman? Who's the? I think it's John Hodgman. Is he the one from like the Daily
PC
Show?
guy, right?
And yeah, he has this little post about writing what you know, but he started off with saying he was the guy going through all these pitches, like manuscripts and stuff for like a company for books, and so he read like hundreds of these things, and so he learned from that what to do, what not to do. So if your job is the person filtering pitches for the agent, like that's a learning tool for writing in any respect. So if we're talking about applying, now I don't know how you apply for those jobs. That's a whole other kettle of fish. Like trying to apply to have a story produced versus trying to
imagine
be
that
the
stuff
guy
would be
who reads
really
those stories.
intense. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be very literate and stuff like that.
The biggest,
the thing that summarizes, like wraps up all these things that makes them the cherry on top. Be nice. Be a nice person. All these things are meaningless if no one likes to work with you. Be nice. It's like you could be the most talented, most on time, but if you're a douche.
I've seen that happen too. Like I haven't had a lot of head cases in animation, but I've seen people pushed out of productions because they were difficult to work with.
Be nice, guys.
What happens?
Like some of us are introverted creators, but we gotta at least have a good morning in us somewhere.
Yeah, that stuff sucks too. Like I mean, you know, sometimes you won't even know anything about a person. Like, oh yeah, that person's a dick. Like really? Like what? What even? Like if you, it's a small industry.
Yeah. Burning bridges.
Yeah. Not to say it's hopeless if you already have, but just, you know.
Build new bridges. We built this city on rock and roll. I mentioned the thing about being in New York or LA. If you want to be in the business of show, that's just the way it is. As far as Canada and animation is a weird situation because we're definitely a service country.
Most of our writing is done in LA.
Yeah, we're the guys who are actually just producing the actual animation. So a lot
we are overseas to American studios.
Yeah. Unless you want to work for the CBC, which I assume that's all in-house, I don't know where your writing would go, where you would go to write for a Canadian production. So if you're in Canada, I don't know. Can't help you there. There are companies, though. There are little companies popping around. You know, like Byte, the Byte Network. I don't know if it's over yet, but they did have a pitch thing that was wrapping up soon. They're promoting it all over the Silver Snail.
Oh, the Mondo.
Yeah, Byte and Mondo were working together. So if check that out if you want to produce pitch content. I know Nickelodeon keeps having these like pitch seasons. I don't know if Canadians are as likely to get into it. But Byte and Mondo.
They do have a Canadian site for that when they do it.
Yeah, look that up if you guys are wondering. And also, if you're watching, be sure to post that this is interesting and you're fascinated and you're thankful that I have this information for you. So I want to make sure we're not just rambling and you're like, oh my god, talk about the free swag. Because this is still Comic-Con Thursday. This is still panels. Writing a spec script, getting your coffee, blah, 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 blah. There was one interesting thing about workshopping your script with a group. You know, kind of like what I was running this thing called Write Night that was supposed to be this, basically, where we would be like, hey, we're reading each other's stuff. And
was it ever like that? It seemed like it was hangout time.
It was more of hangout time and me doing a podcast. It was less about actually being constructive.
It did feel like a podcast.
It was. The problem is I'm too show businessy. I don't know how to get down to brass taxes. I have to turn off the mic to make
show scripts. You're like, all right, let's talk about Sailor Moon.
Well, that's just it, because I didn't want to show scripts over the air, but then we wouldn't have time to do a live. No. The problem is I'm too show businessy. The
problem is it wasn't actually a workshop. It was a podcast.
If you want to have a workshop thing, it's kind of like you get a group of, say, 10 people, 6 people, whatever, together, and you're all just kind of like writing and showing each other's work. Another panel is also talking about this. I don't know if it's the same one. It might have been the same one. But basically what these guys did at this animation panel, a lot of them were in this group where, you know, every few weeks or so they would have like a 10-page script, and they'd pass them around, and each person would review it themselves individually, and then they'd take 30 minutes publicly, not to humiliate, but to go over each script with everybody and to deconstruct it. And it's kind of like this is the premise of like a write group. Because we've all seen, you know, for the artists, there's events where they can get together and draw and stuff, but for writers it can be a little trickier because it's very more introverted. But it doesn't have to be. You can get together, all write something, 10 pages, and then pass it around, review it, and then publicly tear it apart and make each other stronger. Because that's how it is. You know, wounds. To make an analogy of pumping iron, when you work out, you're technically damaging your muscles, and when they heal stronger, and that's what makes pecs.
Yep, that's a good analogy. I'm going to make a quick recommendation. There's a podcast called Script Notes by John August and I forget the name of the other writer. But they do that exact thing where they'll workshop people's scripts. So each episode you can actually listen to them read a premise and talk about what's wrong with the script that was sent to them. And it's pretty quick, but it's actually an interesting way to learn because they'll talk about better ways to maybe introduce a character, better ways to handle writing prose or your writing format, or what's too much to include in a script. So I found that was pretty interesting. Just like not as a writer, but just listening. So I mean, if you guys are writing, that'd be helpful. I'm just gonna plug my
Script Notes
thing in because it's dying.
Right. And another thing, like this is where where I definitely need help, of course, too. Doing this kind of thing will also make you used to the concept of criticism, a concept of your private thoughts being torn apart right in front of you, and you'd be like, hey. But that's
scary.
basically the basis of the industry. It's in these.
You really need to build up a little bit of a backbone because it sucks. You know, it's especially when it's your first time. You don't want someone you care so much about a story, you put so much into it. You don't want someone to tell you what's wrong about it. But they're not doing it to be malicious. If they're a good teacher, they're not doing it to be malicious. They want to help you make the best thing ever. So they're catching stuff that an audience will catch, and they're catching it early enough that you're not going to hit those problems when the movie gets made or the comic gets made. Because if you catch it now, you can work it and make it better. Like, they're not trying to hurt you, they're trying to help.
And it can be especially scary if it's like your first time sharing humor content, because like humor is so subjective. But like, if you're putting your jokes
and it's like
out
if they're
there,
not laughing, then
and you got to figure out what's up with that. Because sometimes the same line can be delivered so many different ways and get a different reaction. You know, you can try to be larger than life, but it's too big and doesn't work, or you can just be subtle and it's the funniest thing ever.
There's something Neil Gaiman said. I think it was either Neil Gaiman or I might be mixing up him and Stephen King's podcast, but there's a bit of advice. It's if someone if a reader tells you, or if a critique tells you something's wrong with something, they're usually right. They tell you exactly what's wrong with it, they're usually wrong. Because I mean, you want to kind of put your own spin on it. It's like, how about you do this instead? Like that's you can take that with a grain of salt. But if like these characters aren't working, like, you should listen to that. Like, something's wrong with it. But like, how about you do this with these characters? It's you have to listen to what you want to do with it. You know, it's your story ultimately, but if people are kind of tripping up on something, usually it means something's not right.
Well, I was actually just thinking about this when it comes to general critiquing, and there's the difference between someone saying, going back to the jokes, saying like, oh, that joke didn't work, or something.
That's where you get the Band-Aid approach, where it's like, well, how about you do this? And it's like you kind of are trying to patch up something that's not working, and then it just gets frustrating. And I saw this happen when we were doing our pitches in college. Like, I mean, our pitch worked out really good. I pitched Ruby Blue Shoes, and it was like, all right, good. But I would watch some pitches where it was like, But I would watch some pitches where it was like, this isn't working, but then people would start going down this crazy road of, like, what they would do. And just kind of, at that point, it's just, this is not helping, you know. It's I need to go I get this doesn't work, I need to go figure it out. But, like, when you start listening to 20 people's ideas, it's like suddenly you start losing your story.
Well, it was the idea is like, it comes a lot to video games when it's like someone, like, say someone makes this game and they're like, oh, I wish there was more action, I wish there was more this, I wish there was more this, more this. And that's not critiquing, that's saying they wanted it to be something completely different, as opposed to them commenting on what you do have. It's more like when people are saying what you don't have, it's like they're trying to say, I wish it was a whole different project, versus them saying, well, your timing here was bad, this here could use some work, that was fine, and that was that. That's different, you know, that's actually criticizing the work versus being like, it wasn't an action RPG, you know, like, that's not good criticism. That's like saying they wanted something entirely different. So there's like, that's when you say, make your own damn game, screw you. But the bottom line of having the writing group of like how many people sharing scripts is don't be solo. That's something they said. Like, in this business of show, you're not the only person making a project. Go to the web if you want to have complete and full control over something. But when you're making a comic for a company, or you're making an animation for a TV show, it's with a group of people, and they're all working together to make it happen. Even if you're the creator, you know, be it, you know, Gravity Falls, and you have the creator title, or, you know, being Puppycat, and you have the creator title. There's a bunch of people with you making it happen, and you have to take into account that they are all working with you and trying to make it work best. So your ideas aren't always the best because they have a wider perspective than just your solo perspective. Let everyone, you know, be involved, have the influence. And I know some people are paid to go out of the way just to be like, change that because I want to make sure my voice is heard.
Yeah, and this does become a tricky balance too, though, because it's everybody has a valid opinion. Like, that it's great to listen to. I think you should be open-minded, but if you kind of are open to too much, you start to lose your vision. I mean, ultimately, you are still the director. It's still your idea. And people will take things in 100 different ways if you let them, but you have to just be open to listening. Like, is this not working? Okay, I'll take that critique. I won't take that critique. That one. Because, I mean, you're not going to please everybody. And at the end of the day, you do want to be true to yourself. But just being open to listen to what other people say. But again, it does become that tricky thing where it's like, do I listen to everybody? No, it's your story. You need to keep your vision, but just, yeah.
I'll try to speed up going through this because I have so many notes and I know it's helpful, but we also want to talk about our Comic-Con experience, and we're just on Thursday, for God's sake. So I'm gonna just blast through some of these quickly. So once again, we're in the panel about writing for animation. They're saying things like length. It's better to be under than over when you're pitching a script, because being over, that means you have to cut back. Being under means you have to add more. What you should have to get hired, have enthusiasm, ask about, people are going to ask about you through your peers. So this is why being nice is a good thing too. So if other people know you, they can be like, oh yeah, he's a good guy, he does this, he's on time.
And reliable too.
Your ability to take notes, so it's not just taking them verbatim about alternates, because sometimes people will be like, do this instead, and you're like, there's got to be a way to compromise, because that doesn't work either. You know, don't just be rolled over. You know, so it's not just about slavishly following notes. You want to make sure it's still a good scene. So if you have a better compromise than what your original and what the suggestion was, that makes you a better writer.
Don't be combative, especially with an editor or a producer. Don't be like, no, that doesn't work. Be like, okay, that's interesting. I was also thinking maybe we could do this, and like, you know, be diplomatic about it. don't ever be like, that's stupid, because then you're gonna make them embarrassed, and then they're gonna want to grind their heels in.
On the more technical side, they often write premises and outlines in Microsoft Word, final drafts for the scripts using the final draft software, and PDFs for sharing, so no one actually needs any hardcore software. Great writing is efficient writing. Condensing, here's a good practice for you guys. If you're able to condense a 45-page script down to a 30-page, that's good practice. So write your 45-page scripts and start shrinking them. That's a good practice for your TV writers.
Okay. Did you mention that other thing about the font size?
Oh, okay. I didn't write it down, but this was going back to Shorter's Better Than Longer. They told a story. I'm not naming names, so they mentioned a writer who was well established who tried to sneak in a much larger script into a shorter script by like shrinking the font and like condensing this and that, and like in reading it, they're like, this isn't 30 pages. This is
guys,
like 40
this worked in high school when you had to submit a certain amount of pages for an essay. This does not work in TV, because even if you shrink the script, you have still written way too much to be animated within 22 minutes or 11 minutes. So if they say, you know, 16 pages, you really need to think about that. I mean, some writers will sit there with a stopwatch.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Related to this, for animation scripts, big chunks of dialogue not broken up by actions means there's nothing for the animators to do. The characters are just going to be standing there staring at each other while one guy's talking.
Do you guys like the teapot acting? Because that's all that happens when nothing's happening. When you don't write a character interacting with anything, there's nothing to do but this and hips and pointing
and blinking.
And it's horrible. And we hate storyboarding it. We feel like jerks. But if they're standing in a desert and they can't interact with anything, what are they going to do except this and this and this? And I don't know who actually talks like that, but the alternative is natural human acting, which is just standing there.
So it's like 2 sentences, action, 2 sentences, as opposed to this big monologue where the other characters are just like blinking, looking around while he's talking and breathing or something like that. Because animation is a strange medium. Something always has to be happening, you know. I just want to finish up this topic quickly. Breaking in, blah, 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 blah. Length is better under and over. Yeah, that was it.
Good job. What did I do Friday?
So that was, this is still Thursday. Oh, I still have one more panel on Thursday, but I could blast through it quickly. Actually, the one last panel I went to on the Thursday was, it's a voice actor one that was ran by Bang Zoom, and you may have heard of them because they do a lot of classes and are actually a studio that does work for Blizzard. I forget the names, but the people who were at this panel was a woman who does the voice directing for like Diablo, for World of Warcraft, and one of the main actors, he was like the voice of the angel or some guy, archangel with wings and stuff, and he was there too. I don't know anyone's name in this industry. It's not good. But the point is, I went to this panel a little early, and because I did, the panel before it was this like art, I think it was like an art panel or something like that, with you know, and they handed out like these free packs of like markers and stuff.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
I got these markers, and I'm like, so like, hey, Katie, you want some free nice markers, whatever? Here you go. Comic-Con, giving out the free swag.
Sweet. That was pretty great.
But this was ran by Bang Zoom. They also do classes and stuff and have a DVD. It came out a little while, a good couple of years actually ago, well before John DiMaggio's voice acting DVD. I know that voice. This one was like behind the voice. I forgot what it's called. But look up Bang Zoom Entertainment. They do lessons in your America places, but not here in Canada, so I got to find something else. Because I am still trying to pursue the vocal talents world if I can. Quickly. Don't try so hard to give voice casters exactly what they want within parameters. Give them what you want. So basically, if they're, you can never do the exact voice they're looking for. You kind of have to do a bunch of things. We're talking about voice acting right now. If you're wondering that we're going on tangents, don't imitate. Make it you. They're looking for truth in the performance. So accents, monster voice, whatever. Beyond all that, this is the biggest takeaway. They want a real person talking. It doesn't matter if you have the craziest voices or the scariest voices. If there's nothing human or relatable or real in it, then it's like it's not working. So this is why you got to bring yourself into the role. Following up, the same deal about did you get it, what did you think, when to follow up when you're sending in reels and things like that. Acting is key, voice is secondary. There's a website called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com that has all the information you could ever possibly want, apparently. I'll be checking that out soon, too. Don't do an accent if you don't got it. If you can't do the British accents, and there's lots of different kinds, don't do it. Don't do it. And sometimes listening to a soundtrack similar to the scene helps find the character, emotion, or the world. So if you're recording for your fan dubs or whatever you're doing at home or your real professional work, and you just can't get into the role just yet, and you're like, oh, this is a scene where the guy's village is burned down, he's sad. Go get Hans Zimmer, get his Gladiator, and be like, ooh, Wheatfield, and you're like, oh, my family, and then after that you're like, okay, I got this in the bag. So listen to sad stuff, or if it's action stuff, listen to action stuff, Indiana Jones music, whatever. The same for like you yourself. Can you do this when you're drawing? You like to have similar themed music to the scene you're working on, I believe. Correct?
Yeah. Correct.
Beyond that, it was an interesting panel. They actually had people come up and do lines from Diablo 3, and it was really interesting. And that was my Thursday at Comic-Con. Oh my gosh, that was just Thursday. So many panels. Katie, what did you do Thursday?
Thursday.
While you're checking, just quickly, people are saying things like, Courtney is saying, Jesse and I are so thankful for this, that we're being useful, and Jesse loves your Stan Lee voice, thank you very much. Daniel Luke saying, this is definitely very interesting, thanks for sharing it with us, I hope we're not up too late.
Hello, Daniel Luke, it's been a long time.
We got Louis Nato saying, this is really helpful, I'm going to have to rewatch this later just to take some notes down. We got Comic-Nom saying, this is good. I'm packing Kickstarter stuff while listening. This is great.
Excellent.
We got Matthew Pritchard saying, this is interesting. I'm thankful, and thank you for talking about it. Okay, I didn't mean to push that everyone had to be grateful for it. I just said that to be silly.
He's like, all right, I'm going to stop talking about this in 2 minutes. And just
Andrew Murray saying, while you two were down at San Diego Comic-Con, did you guys hear any more on the fate of the CN show clearance? Cartoon Network
clearance?
Clearance.
Yeah,
I'm curious now that the showrunner was fired a month ago.
From what
there was a big controversy with that a little while ago.
Yeah, I only know a lot of stuff from rumors, but I was talking to people down there, and they were saying that the showrunner of Clearance kind of wasn't really. He was kind of like they'd been taking some responsibilities away from him before that happened. So. Really, I think now he's gone off the show, but like the show was kind of operating without him for a while anyway. So it seems to still be going strong. Is what I've heard. But yeah, that was a mess. And if you guys, I don't really necessarily want to go into it here, but like if you look into Clarence controversy,
it'll probably be some of the top search terms. So
yeah, because I think it was handled very badly by Cartoon Brew. But Schmer.
And quickly, we got Sarah Raymond saying, does anyone know of any writing critique groups in Toronto? Well, there was supposed to be one called Write Night, which you can find on Facebook, which I still do post on, but we don't meet anymore. Write Night. Check it out.
Or don't. Thursday? Well, I went to the Sergio and Mark show with you, which was fun. Sergio Arconis.
Take notes of that, because it was just silliness.
It was kind of just a hangout. It was just nice to hear them chat.
For the folks who don't know, who's Sergio?
Sergio, so if you guys read the Gru comics, he had a really fun series about this wandering. But I mean, the biggest thing I think he's known for is the Mad magazine. He would always have little short cartoons, just silent, no dialogue, but just very funny pantomime cartoons. And his style is very, it's easy to recognize, very simple but very expressive and fun. And I've been reading his stuff since I was a kid. And actually, a couple years ago at San Diego Comic-Con, our friend Joanne Matt introduced him to us, which was really nice to actually get to meet him and chat with him for like, a minute. But I was like, oh, that's so great. But I mean, the panel was just kind of fun, just telling stories about how they got started and everything, which was enjoyable. And because he has a new series coming out, which is Gru versus Conan, which is Conan the serious barbarian and Gru the like. I wouldn't say wacky because it's a violent comic, but it's very cartoonish in its violence too. So but I mean, it's one I've really enjoyed. And his personal stories I really enjoy too, just his life stuff. He had one story about how he sneaks into the DC comic book company and just starts wreaking havoc with all the characters and making up his own origin story for all the characters, and they're really fun.
He had one for Marvel as well at the time.
Oh yeah, he had one for Marvel.
And the interesting thing was, what he made note of was, instead of like them making Marvel and DC comics and people being like, is this in continuity, is this, they started the comic with the two creators sneaking in, and like they portrayed them doing it so you wouldn't have to think about continuity. It was kind of like this neat way to separate what is legit, what is actual stories, or what is his story version of it,
Yeah.
Because if you post like a Star Wars story where it's about like two bumbling stormtroopers and it's like officially printed by whoever, it's like,
yeah, but if
this
it's a story
is canon,
where it's like, Yeah, but if you start a story where it's like you and me sneaking into George Lucas and like grabbing some papers and writing stuff, it's like suddenly the legitimacy of it is, okay, this is just a fanfic with these two kids.
It's an official fanfic. That's basically what he was doing.
But it's licensed by the company.
But the also good news they revealed was they're going to be compiling all of the Gru stories from our childhoods and stuff into a nice big-ass book. So that's something to look forward to.
It's actually not even an announcement yet. They were like, we haven't officially done it yet, so no one tweet about it, but that's what we're going to look for.
No one talk.
Way to go.
Stuff is in the works, I'm sorry. I didn't say nothing. Who are you? What are you doing, Katie? What happened, Elsa?
I am inking my very last word bubble. I was going to say, too, on the Thursday, that's where we went to the Seaside Village to get supper.
Oh, that was Thursday. What's it actually called?
Seaport.
Town, port, village, port, food, yum.
Yeah, food, yum.
Yeah.
Carb Nation.
Greasy, cheesy.
Why haven't you eaten any greens on this trip yet, you fools?
Yeah. Last year when we were in that area, they were actually filming that Assassin's Creed parkour video, which had the Assassin's Creed Black Flag character, Edward or whichever, running around and flipping over our dinner tables. That was fun.
That was fun. You can see us in the video like, whoa!
Whoa!
That is totally unsafe.
No such thing happened this time around, though. But, it's still fun going down there. You get to see the water. Then we usually walk along the water to get back to the hotels, because our hotel was really nice, actually. We were on the other side of the tracks of the con, but like right near it, so we're right near the whole Constantine.
We have another hookup, not hookup. Shout out to Jean, who hooked us up with a great hotel.
Reliable every year. Jean gives us the best hotels.
Best luck. And she got us the Omni, which is right across the street from the con. And it was the best because you could be like, I'm just going to throw all my swag in the hotel and come back to the con, and you could easily do that because it would take you just a couple minutes to get across the street. Amazing, so good. Thank you, Jean.
Quick segue, Kel wrote, there's a great silly Star Wars comic that is about Jar Jar Binks' father, who is this badass whaler, and just how disappointed in Jar Jar he is.
I have to find that. Is
that legit? Amazing. Is that as silly as the story of Uncle Owen fighting Darth Maul?
What?
That sounded awesome, too. It's like Darth Maul came back with robot spider legs, and Uncle Owen was like, let's do this! I'm like, oh my god!
He's like, he's watering his Nerf herders or something. He's watering
taking up his vaporizer, and he's like, oh shit, Darth Maul. Me as a local farmer knows this guy.
He's like eating all the shrubs. He's eating all the sand. Like, what are
Uncle
they?
Owen's like, yeah, get out of there.
He's eating all the moisture.
Get out of my moisture.
Farm. Get out of the moisture. Darth Maul. Got a case of the moles.
Great comic. I think that was like last year's exclusive, actually.
Aww, exclusive.
So I think that was our Thursday. Friday, we kicked off the morning with the Nickelodeon Legend of Korra Book 3 panel. Now, if you haven't caught up, if you finished series 1 and 2, and each ending was kind of like, even though the series themselves are great, but the endings are kind of, this season, season 3 has been fantastic. If you're not on the Korra train, it's like something to do with choo-choo, but get on it, because this is going to the top. This season has been spectacular, and at this panel, they premiered the newest episode. First, they had to clear up the controversy of Korra no longer being on Nickelodeon television, and clearing it up because the numbers on TV just weren't showing.
What is the system called? It's
the Nelson, the
Nelson?
stupid, the dumbass numbers.
The Nelson system is what they used to have to see who's watching the shows.
The dumb bum.
It does not work anymore because the nature of entertainment has switched to the internet and to computers. So I mean, you download it or you watch it on iTunes, or they're not tracking that. They're just tracking who's watching Korra at 3 p.m. on Thursday or something like that. So they're like, no one's watching it. It's like they're not seeing all the people that have bought.
And to be fair, Nickelodeon also admitted like Korra is kind of the most different thing on their channel. Like everything else they have is kind of like wacky, silly, whatever. SpongeBob, and nothing against SpongeBob. There's great stuff there too. But Korra is like it's the only show that has like you have to watch in order. We were talking to a friend telling us all about how like these channels like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon love to do these like it's time for the SpongeBob every episode we like block.
Well, we saw it too there. It was the Adventure Time Princess marathon. So every episode
it's like all the princess episodes, and it's like you can't do that with Korra because it won't make any sense because those shows have that more sitcom format where it's beginning, middle, end, reset for the next episode. You can watch The Simpsons in just about any order outside of major plot things like a character dying. You can watch them in just about any order, and it does not matter. But with Korra, it's more like an anime series that has, an arc, or like watching Lost. You can't watch Lost out of order. Yeah. So it doesn't work for Nickelodeon's formats. And so the two guys were up there kind of clearing the air because days before San Diego Comic-Con, they were told, the world was told Korra was no longer on TV. And we're all like, oh my gosh, how's this going to affect the panel? We got to go see this panel. It's going to be great kind of thing. It's just quickly we got Sarah saying Book 3 is amazing. We are being spoiled with the show. Book 3 is so damn good. I'm so happy with Book 3 because like quickly my qualms with Book 2. Book 1 was fun, but the ending was like, oh, okay. Book 2 was like, all right, this is awesome, but Korra was kind of acting exactly like she did in the first season, like she didn't learn anything. You're like, oh, okay. Book 3 is perfect. Book 3 is the Assassin's Creed 2 of Korra. It's just improvements. But the two guys are up on stage and they said, okay, so the numbers on TV didn't show. That being said, Season 2's finale was the most viewed thing on Nickelodeon's online streamer. It just knocked the knock out of knock stuff. Good streaming. It did. So that being said, the show is now permanently like an online stream only show. I don't know how this affects us because we watched everything on like other methods, but because I don't know how else we do it. We don't have Nickelodeon here in Canada, But neither here nor there. They had a chunk of the cast there. They had I don't know any of their names, but they had Korra there. They had Mako. They had Balin. Is it Balin Fawn? Balin Fawn.
It was
Chief Police.
It was Beifong.
Beifong. And Barrick, what's his name? The guy,
Barrick,
the marketer guy?
The smarmy guy.
He was hosting the panel, right? He was asking the questions, or was he? No, that was a different panel.
No, he was just hanging out. It was their first panel, I think.
Yeah, but he was there, and it was a treat. It was a fun panel, and then they premiered the newest episode for us, which was like the wrap-up of the Steel Town arc, and it was so good to see in a crowd. It was like seeing a Korra movie. Because we're in Ballroom 20, which I think is the next biggest after Hall H.
That really is the most fun way to watch something.
Like
it's like every time someone does some amazing bend move, it's like everybody's just applauding and losing their minds. Yeah. And
it was like watching Scott Pilgrim at Comic-Con. Everyone goes nuts watching Korra applauding the action, and there's nothing like it.
Yeah, because it's like you're used to watching the show, and maybe you have a friend or two who's also watching it, but in your real life, there's not really a lot of people maybe watching the same stuff you are. But when you're all at the same time, like, it's just fun.
We're all just going nuts with the action because it is a great episode. It's got some stuff in it. I believe it's been released by now, of course, so you guys may have seen it. If not, there might be a newer episode. I'm not sure yet. But it was great. They also showed a bunch of concept art that was like really insightful and funny. There's lots of great
stuff. Some really funny concept art.
They had like they're showing how like the main villain team, antagonist team of this season, like they had to draw like winter outfits for all of them, and they had like the main guy, the bald guy, wearing like this like reindeer sweater and stuff like that, and it was just like really cute stuff. We got Louis saying, agreed, this season feels like it went back to its roots as a similar in tone to the original Avatar series, and I credit that to the fact that they're actually traveling again and not just staying in the city.
Yeah, I found Republic City kind of not
really
very
emotional
exciting,
moments too, thoroughly loving it.
Yeah. And they also showed some pencil tests from Studio Mir, which were amazing, because they would show the pencil tests and then the final, and it was all these amazing. I mean, that studio just knocks the animation out of the park. It's amazing.
Man, okay, so we did that. I don't have too many. That's
Friday. Let me see if I.
This is Friday. Let's see.
Friday.
So I went to a couple panels on Friday. One I went to was called Ask an Agent. This one was leaning more towards novel agents, though, so it was kind of me being like, should I be here? But I stuck it out. And they're talking about query letters. That was the big term. It's all these query to be represented by an agent. Letters of introduction. You want to get them to read your story. So in a way, all the things we've talked about pitching, you're also doing that for an agent. But it's a bit different because their time is precious, but they also want to know more about what you're doing. So it's like, for them to represent you, you got to give them like sometimes a bit more. And once again, it depends on the agent too. So it's kind of like blah, 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 or is asking agent query letter. Think of your one line, of course, think of your one line. This was interesting because this is what they said. And we've talked about the one line before, how to sell your book in one sentence or whatever. And they're saying, think of your one line pitch as a movie poster. The poster is to tell you everything it can within one page. So when you look at the Guardians of the Galaxy poster, or you look at Moon, or you look at any of these great, interesting posters, what have you learned from that if you didn't see any of the trailers and stuff? Did you learn everything you needed to? Once again, one thing I didn't really talk about before, but some things I've been learning more about is the idea of the unsolicited script policy. A lot of these places have issues with, like, they'll write, don't send us scripts, unsolicited scripts, because they don't want a chance them making something that was similar to what you make, and then you raise legal action, blah, blah, blah. But that's not always true, because sometimes these unsolicited scripts are what get people in, because they're like, oh, shoot, this guy really knows his stuff, and I like the story, let's get them in.
Yeah, so, you hear that a lot, where it's like, even, like, Joss Whedon, hearing his Breaking story, was like, he sent in an unsolicited Roseanne script, I think, and everyone was like, "Don't send in scripts, don't send in scripts." And he's like, "I like the show," and then he sent in a script for the show, and they're like, "Yeah, you were."
You don't always have to follow the rules, and I think even I did that once, where it's like I was told not to send in a demo reel to get into like my university or whatever it is, and I did anyway, and you're like, "All right, I don't know." It's like sometimes there's rules, but don't follow them to the T.
If it works, there's rules, but if it works, friggin' do what works.
Yeah. And, I'll say this now. I was going to say this at the end, but a lot of the panels all said the same thing. There's no right way to do any of this. There's no one right way. All these people can do at these panels, and what I'm doing for you guys now is tell you how they did it. But you will find underlying themes between all of their methods. But there is no one specific method. Like, if the most base way is submit application received, job hired, sure, you could say that is the one way, but it's rarely as simple as that. It has a lot to do with contacts, a lot to do with who you are, what you've done in the past, what you have online, how you present yourself. It's like there's so many little things, or coincidence, chance, making your own luck. I'm in the middle wrapping everything up, but there's so much more to say. Let's see, managing, you have agents, finishing graphic novel, who reps. If you have like a finished book, and you want to get represented, it's kind of like there was something interesting they said about finding the people who represent the books you like. Why did they represent your favorite graphic novel? Why, what? And this is similar to the idea of like asking what they want, what type of stories they want. So it's if you don't know who to send your stuff to, figure out who represents the books. This is a little trickier. Sometimes it's not as obvious, but sometimes there are credits for the agents in graphic novels and in novels and books. So it's like find out who repped, not the published, but represented your favorite books, and maybe those are agents you might want to look into talking to. Target those who rep what you love. Check the acknowledgments. The acknowledgments may say it if it's not more obvious anywhere else. Learn comics publishers to help with it. Learn to comics. No, let's do this. Some of these notes don't make any sense to me anymore. This is more something in the States or in literary and Britain. It was about the difference between a manager and an agent, where there you kind of have multiple things within the States. You have an agent who gets you the work, but a manager who kind of, helps you develop. So the manager helps you develop the content, whereas the agent gets you the work and makes the deals, but often these lines are blurred, and sometimes they're both the same person. It's not really written in stone. Thing I mentioned briefly before about trend chasing. If you try to cash in on what's hot by the time you're done your vampire story, your werewolf story,
by the time you're done, your movie that's 5 years later is doing the Matrix back swish, and everyone's like, ugh.
Yeah. It's don't trend chase. Like there is still that window when people sneak in, like everyone get a werewolf thing quick, or everyone get a other thing quick, or everyone get a
no one
robot
should be
thing
having
quick.
Gundam style happening in a animated movie.
Worst mistake in a query in a letter to an agent is aggressive boringness. Is what one of them said, which was really interesting. Basically going on and on and on about the details of your book's world and your great ideas, and just being like, get to the point. Please, God, get to the point. And there was a term, boutique agency, which I have to look into more, but one of them ran a boutique agency when agencies have like different methods of how they work. They said something that we've heard before, where comics don't often have agents, but graphic novels maybe, depending on the publisher, really. And about following up, follow up if you haven't heard back. But once again, remember, they are busy people. Sometimes stuff gets buried. One of them mentioned the story how they found these old emails with this great pitch, and they're like, oh my gosh, I have to get in touch with this guy. And by that point, he was already represented by someone else. It's like,
Yeah.
So the follow-up is a reminder. Sometimes people just miss things.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the agent panel I went to. Quickly, we got Andrew Murray, voted with 2, but not winning with 3. Saying, all this talk about pitching in LA or New York and agents, do either of you think there is hope of growth for our own cultural identity, or will we be known primarily as the overseas service country for the U.S.? I think for now, I can't be any say on it, but for animation that's the case, but in comics I think Canada's doing a damn fine job of representing themselves with a cultural identity. We got books! Katie.
We got books. We freaking got books.
We got books, man. Canada's kicking ass in comics right now. The Canadian indie comics scene is better than it's ever been, and it'll keep getting better. It's great here. I love it.
I love it.
Chris Butcher, you're the finest. You've made such a great environment. You have. TCAF for all, I say. Oh, Canada's awesome.
By the way, TCAF sign-up has commenced, so if you are interested in applying to TCAF, check out the website and apply. They are doing the every other year rule, so I don't know if we'll be getting in, but I applied anyway. Just see what happens.
I think the last panel I went to, I didn't go to so many panels this day. The last one I went to on the Friday was called Closing the Deal, and it was all about the law, the laws of what you're signing in your contracts. And I almost want to do another day on this because there's a lot of stuff I wrote down, but it's all about this. This was one of the most interesting panels I went to. I almost want to do a separate video about this because this is going to take us all night if I start going on.
Okay, well, let's do this next week.
But if you guys want to look at that, I'm going to write down, right now, go to a place called comicsexperience.com. It's like an online school, but also deals with law and stuff. And the guy, I think, was Joe Sergi, S-E-R-G-I, who I was talking to. And his panel is really interesting. It was all about, like, there's so many laws and things you're signing and so many contracts and all about the rights. And if I think we talked briefly maybe at some point about the weird situation where Miracle Man is, where it's duly owned by Todd McFarlane and Neil Gaiman, and there's a lot of weird legal hang-ups about who gets to publish those comics, and there's stuff about dual ownership, and then there's other stories where there's things where, like, the reason why DC is always publishing Watchmen is because if they don't publish it again within 5 years, the rights go back to Alan Moore. There's a lot of interesting stuff. There's stuff about how the original Wonder Woman family will get the rights back if they don't publish 4 Wonder Woman books a year that has Wonder Woman in the title. I want to talk about this with you guys later. It's a lot to go in, but I think that was all for me on Friday. What did you do Friday, Katie?
Friday, Cora, I went to the Scott McCloud panel on how to create a graphic novel, where he showed some snippets of his new book, The Sculptor, which is coming out in February. That was very cool. Friday was kind of just hangouts and stuff. Although we did something Friday evening.
Are you done?
Yeah, I did. I didn't have
Friday evening. We went to Hollywood Babylon with Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman. Preface: it was over at the. I bought tickets way in advance, but I still had only the standing room. But oh well, fair enough. This is the podcast I've been listening to for a long time. I love me some Kevin Smith, though I haven't watched too many of his more recent movies, but I do love his podcasts. And Hollywood Babylon is where they just each week kind of, if you feel shame for like being into Hollywood gossip, there's nothing wrong with listening to it from these guys because it's just more of them tearing it apart and it's just silly and it's just one of the funnest podcasts I listen to. And these two guys just go through like the Hollywood, like the geek news and the media and what's going on, just make it fun and interesting and have a lot of stuff going on. Check out the website, Hollywood Babylon, part of the Smodcast network. But we got to see a live show, the live performance, the San Diego Comic-Con edition at the House of Blues in San Diego. And to preface, we had dinner there first. Some of the best mashed potatoes I've ever had. I don't know how to say it, but the mashed potatoes at the House of Blues were so good. So if you're in San Diego...
They were really good. Those were really good.
I don't even know why. It was just like a really good mashed potato. And they had something I didn't know that existed. The beer company, Stella, had a cider. And I had that cider with the mashed potatoes. Both very good. It was a very good cider. Very good mashed potatoes. It was a great episode of the Hollywood Babylon. There was a wedding, a marriage between Thor and yeah, and it's like Jane. That. Yeah, I think so, right? Yeah, Jane. Yeah. And that happened at like right at the top of it. Go listen to the episode. I don't want to spoil nothing. All I want to say is this was on my checklist. I did want to see one live Hollywood Babylon at some point, so I finally got to do that. And I finally got to see, like, when you listen to the podcast version, you always hear, like, Ralph Garman telling Kevin Smith to, like, stop doing his, like, sensual dances and stuff during the, music tracks, the interstitials and the sound effects. And I never knew what they were. And now I've seen them all, so now I know what's going on.
No need to imagine.
Now I know what makes Ralph Garman so uncomfortable. So check out Hollywood Babylon.
There's also a guest appearance.
Oh, yeah, right off the top. Batman himself, Kevin Conroy, showed up right at the beginning of the show to record a quick PSA for Kevin Smith's The Wayne Foundation to do like a quick thing to get people to sign up. So if you hear that, Kevin Conroy, that was recorded live at the show we were at. Mm-hmm. So that was actually really fun, little surprise to have our one true Batman next to Adam West, Kevin Conroy, live on stage briefly there. Good guy, great voice. Oh my God, fantastic voice. How much time we got? It's 10:45 right now.
I think we might have to wrap at 11, unless you can keep going.
I can keep going. I just wonder if people want to keep hearing, because on top of all the panels and stuff we did, there was a lot of stuff going on around Comic-Con as well. Namely of which there was the Assassin's Creed experience. The Assassin's Creed experience was basically a parkour obstacle course. Not necessarily parkour, but an obstacle course set up and just outside some of the hotels that, after a 3-hour lineup, I finally got to run around. As in the new Assassin's Creed Unity, I ran for the French Revolution and jumped over things and did a leap of faith off of a tower into a pile of hay. Well, it wasn't really hay, but it was a giant airbag next to fake hay. There's videos of that we can post eventually, so I don't want to go on too long about that, but it was very fun, very exciting. I've always wanted to do those like ninja challenge things you see on the TV, but no, I don't have the muscle to do any of it. So I was very grateful that I had the chance to do that at Comic-Con. Did you attend any of the off-site events?
I didn't actually. I planned to, but it was just everything was so super busy, and I know we were right beside Pico Park, and that's where a lot of Nerd Machine stuff was going on.
Yeah.
And we were close to the Geek and Sundry table, and we were close to the what's with the Nerdist stuff. But I mean, really, all I did the entire time was just go hang out with friends and socialize. And I'm like, I don't have any panels to report on, but I had a lot of fun hangout times, so I had a enjoyable con. We skipped Saturday, but Saturday was essentially...
quickly on Friday, I went to 2 other things.
Yeah.
And
how'd you fill that in?
Well, these weren't learning panels. This was me finally just going to silliness. The panel I tended to go to, but I went to one before it. There was one called "Your Opinion Sucks: Rotten Tomatoes Critics versus Fans."
Oh, yeah.
And let me grab this. At this panel, all of us were in a room and they handed out these Rotten Tomato fans with fresh on one side and rotten on the other side.
It's so good.
And the panel was like a respectable panel of critics from today, film critics, a big lineup. I don't know any of their names. But the premise was people from the audience went up on the mic, had 30 seconds to talk about a movie they liked or didn't like, and the panel got to have their say on it, and then they had a final rebuttal. So they had like a minute to rant on it. We got the rebuttals, which were really funny, and then a final say, and we all got to be like, boo, boo, rotten, or yay, fresh. And like the Transformers movies and stuff were coming up. People were talking about Lost. People talking about what was it, like Wild Wild West, and it was a really fun panel. I didn't even know what was happening. I kind of like just needed to be in that room for the panel after that. But it was a really fun panel. So if you can hear it online, check it out. It was really funny to be there and just kind of a nice interactive panel. But the one after was the Thrilling Adventure Hour. Yes, if you're a fan of Night Vale, in cahoots with the Night Vale crew is the Thrilling Adventure Hour, which is basically for the last 10 years they've been bringing the classic storytelling, radio play, live stage performance art back to life with such stories as they do a bunch of different short stories.
What's that one with the ghosts? Beyond
Belief.
Beyond Belief.
Yeah. Marshall and Mars. What's his name? I keep forgetting.
What's his name? Marshall and Mars.
Why is it gone? Well, either way, they had a bunch of the cast. And interestingly enough, part of their cast for this episode, or this panel anyway, was the actress of Cora. So she was there too. So Helen and I ran up after to thank her for Cora. We're like, oh my gosh, it's so good.
Cute.
Yeah, like we didn't do photos or autographs or nothing, but we're just like, oh, we want to just thank you because Cora season 3 is really good. Yeah, it's really nice. And then after that, that's when we ran off to the Kevin Smith thing. So that was Friday. And this is on top of us randomly going to the dealer's room to like do random short stuff.
Yeah, because I keep forgetting. It's like we did go run around and buy stuff too.
That night, Selena went to sleep outside to line up for some panel of hers. I don't know if it was like Once Upon a Time or something like that. I think it was Once Upon a Time, so it was a big deal. She was cosplaying as Rumpelstiltskin, and I believe there's a photo circling around Tumblr of her hugging the actor. That kind of like went a little. People did like art of it too, went a little viral. So if you're seeing that, that's a friend of ours. Having a really good Comic-Con.
Having the best Comic-Con.
But the Saturday, the only thing we really did was Helen and I ran off to the Steven Universe panel Saturday morning at the Hilton Bayfront, where we got the cast was there, Rebecca Sugar was there, I forget the name of the guy who's also Wallow from Bravest Warriors, but he's like lead something or other. I don't know anyone's names or positions. The actors of Steven, of Pearl, of Amethyst, of Garnet, and the dad. The dad was actually running the panel. And yeah, no, it was fun to see that panel. We got to hear a little song that's from way in the future. They announced that they confirmed another season, so like another 50-something episodes on top of the ones they haven't aired yet. So we have another 80+ episodes of Steven Universe. And the only sneak peek we got is season 2. Things are going to get crazy. Yeah, that's what we heard. So if you're a fan of Steven Universe, it was, there's some cool stuff coming out. And they showed a sneak peek of the next episode. I don't know if it's out yet, but there's another merging, another character merge happens. Another gem, another giant woman thing happens. It's crazy.
Excellent, I love those.
But for our sanity, because there was a certain Once Upon a Time signing on the show floor that flooded the intersections of the Comic-Con dealer room floor that made them impossible to navigate, we decided to hide from the convention for the rest of Saturday. What did we do, Katie?
As Gene was saying, we noped out of there, where we just walked onto the floor and went, nope. And then we went and hung out at the pool at our hotel the entire.
We had a pool on our, where were we in, the Omni?
The Omni,
which was right across from this Game of Thrones experience, as well as Pico Stadium, which had a laser tag and a lot of stuff from the Nerdist headquarters was over there. Helen and I popped over quickly to look around, but we didn't end up doing too much. But there was a cool robot chicken display there that showed the stop motion process. But that's neither here nor there. But we basically hid at our 6th floor pool, which was neighbors to the Wired magazine party that can be seen through the fireplace that was made of glass. So there's us flopping about in our swimmies, while next door there's this daytime dance party where you can see how awkward daytime dance really is without the dark lights and heavy.
It's fun without the lasers. I mean, I'm all for dancing all the time, but there's something about the dark lights and the lasers which just makes it a little more classy.
It's just like the day. It's like people on the patio just and they're like, all right, this is cool. But the selling point was next door to our swimming, inside the zone where we weren't really in because we're dripping wet with water, they had a Baskin-Robbins booth that was giving away free ice cream. And I was trying to figure out, how can I, a lowly, nearly naked dude, get into this party and get some ice cream? You know, and we found out that, like, you needed your Comic-Con pass. And I, like, dug through my bag. I'm like, oh, my God, I still have it on me. And I threw on, like, a towel and a shirt and whatever. And I basically went when the party ended, when they had, like, tubs of Baskin-Robbins they were trying to get rid of. They're just trying to lose it all, get rid of this ice cream. So I ran over there just being like, casual, in my Whore Island towels, just be like, hey, you guys got some ice cream? I want some ice cream, kind of thing. You know, and we ended up with lots of ice cream, so it was a good noping from the con.
Sometimes you need a good nope. Sometimes you're like, you know, I'm here 5 days, I can just take one day and not go on the crazy floor.
Yeah.
The volume of people there just gets to such a level that it's almost scary. Our friend Jean got trapped in the Game of Thrones panel or signing lineup craziness, and it just sounded not fun. Just because it's like you're trying to move around, everybody's got their cameras and they're standing in the way, and you're just like, I just need to get across the floor.
Was Saturday when we went to the crepe place and ran into Stu and Megan, or was that Friday?
No, that was Friday.
Okay, we have this crepe place with the logo as a cow. It's called like Choco something, and it's our tradition to go there every year at least once, because that's where we first went. When we first landed in San Diego after we got our tickets and it wasn't open yet, we went straight there and got crepes, and it's been our tradition ever since to get crepes.
They're really good.
Yeah. But yeah, so Saturday, nothing really to report. We hid from the con.
Yeah, Saturday I had a nice ladies' lunch with award-winning comic artist Faith Erin Hicks. Canada represent, and Joanne Rufftoon, who's also amazing. You should check her out. Brianne Drouhard, who's also amazing. You should check her out. Potato Farm Girl on Twitter and the Tumblrs, and lovely Jean, who is also delight. You should check her out, Jean Kang. So it was a really nice time to just sit, because usually when I see a lot of these people, it's within 2 minutes of, oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, hey, and then you run through the con. But this time I was like, let's just actually get something to eat. And that's the stuff I love about Comic-Con. It's just, hey, we're all in the same part of the country at the exact same time. Like, can you spare, like, meal for a sandwich, like just hang out and eat a sandwich, so that was really fun. And that's what I enjoyed. That was kind of my highlights of this Comic-Con, was all the friendship times, which were the best.
I kind of spent a lot of the con solo going to all these panels.
You were really taking it to heart to make it, because I remember being like, I think at this point we need to start taking this more professionally, so instead of running around having movie times, we should actually be trying to, you know, maybe work towards more of a comic career. You were like, yes, I'm going to hit everything.
And in that respect, I did very little networking, if any at all. I mostly did learning.
And that wasn't even my intent. I just was like, who wants to get food?
Yeah. I didn't meet anyone new. I made I met like 1 or 2 people new, but I made like no new contacts. I didn't hand out any of my new business cards.
You didn't, after all that. Oh.
Yeah, after all that mess. Yeah, and like I basically was just learning. So this all wrapped up on the Sunday of Comic-Con, very last day. It's a sad day because we tear everything down, but we kind of avoided the show floor, so we wouldn't have to see them tearing everything down. It's all nice.
Sunday was actually, I had that really cute, I'm not going to go too much into it, but the cute tale of Pretzel Boy and Cookie Girl, which was really nice. Yeah, basically there was a guy who worked at the pretzel shop who came by, and his girlfriend really enjoys our comics, and she's been like reading them since the Harry Potter comic times. So he was just like, yeah, I just want to buy a comic for her, and if you could just sign something for her, that'd be great. And I was like, awesome. And then he was like, oh, she also works in the cookie stand, so maybe you can come up and say hi. And I was like, of course, I will do that. But like, there's so many cookie stands upstairs.
It's Mrs. Fields?
Yeah, Mrs. Fields. And I was just like, damn it, because he was like, she's like a cute little blonde Irish girl. I was like, yes, I will look for a little blonde Irish girl. I was just like, I don't, like, I should have paid more attention. I don't know where. So I was like, oh well, like, I tried to put some effort into it, but it was like, well, maybe some other day this will happen. But then there was kind of this funny phone tag that kept happening where I would go to the Womanthology booth and they're like, Pretzel Guy is looking for you, and I was like, what? And then like stuff would keep going back and forth until I was able to track them down at the flight booth, and basically what had happened was the president and VP of a comic company I really like. I'm not going to say too much about it, but they saw her reading a copy of Silly Kingdom and were like, "What's that?" And then we're looking at it, and then gave her their cards to give to me. So both of them, the girl who worked in the cookie shop and her boyfriend, the pretzel guy, were trying to track me down, and it ended up working out really nice. And they were just so sweet and so adorable, and that really was a good end to the Sunday. Like the two of them were just adorable and really, really nice. And I was just like, I love that you like the cookie girl and the pretzel guy. It's just so cute. I want to make a story with it.
Let's see. All I was up to, I just did one more panel that day, and this was the business of voice. Once again, a lot of the same stuff we've been talking about. They're just talking about the different agencies and things like that, and the different categories of what you're applying to be a voice actor these days, because there's cartoon, interactive game, audiobook, narration, so it's never just kind of one thing. There's voicebank.net if you want to find more information. Apparently Neil Ross has an amazing demo, they said, so if you want to check his out. Talking about how many clients these agencies have, one of the people, Sandy, I don't have the full names here, says she has 170 clients in her agency, and they only hire more if you're amazing, which might be 2 or 3 a year. So one thing to bear in mind, which I've also been learning throughout the year, is agents and clients and agencies have a roster of quite a few people already. So what reason will they have to add you unless you are crazy different or interesting or amazing or unique and stuff like that. Sandy was looking for real, normal voices. Instead of over the top insane characters. They just want human, your video game narrative and stuff like that. She gets 25 submissions a day, and she listens to demos for 4 seconds before she knows whether she wants you or not. Whilst the other agency actually have people come in and read for them. So Kathy's agency was people will come in and actually read right before them if they like you. You get the next step and you perform right in front of them. On the panel, I don't know his name, but it was the guy who played Cornfed from Duckman. He was one of the guys on the panel, and I think he is Garfield now or something. It was there's a lot of similarities of people who run these panels and stuff like that. They basically say things like take classes, get your improv chops up. We have Second City and stuff around Toronto, and Black Dog Comedy and stuff. So start taking improv classes if you want to do voice stuff. Commercial demo lengths and things like that. It's not about the voice, it's about character once again. So this is 2 different panels saying that. So something must be going on here. So maybe 1 sentence of each character isn't enough. My demo reel currently has just 1 line for me. Maybe a little more, even though I still want to keep it under a minute. Once again, professionalism is dependability. In cartoons, recording happens right after the script is finished, so you need to be available. So as soon because they just finish the script and the next day they're calling you in, so it's you kind of have to have a free schedule when you're doing voice work or able to shuffle things around. And they usually like to get things in 3 takes. They usually take the first one, but 3 is kind of the max they'll do. And something interesting I learned was the idea of how many voices you're legally kind of to do before being paid. Actors doing multiple voices, 2 is no extra money, but 3 is a 10% bump. In the old days, with Mel Blanc and stuff, it's one actor could do, if they had you for 7 hours, you could do 7 hours worth of voices, everything possible. But nowadays, it's kind of they did a limit, so at most, actors will tend to only do 3 characters because it would be more value to, hire another person to do 2 characters and have you do 2 characters than each person doing 4, one person doing 4 kind of thing. It would just cost way too much. If you want to get into voice work, listen to some Rocky and Bullwinkle for some great examples of line delivery and stuff like that, because those were just the wacky, weird days of stuff. If you're late or drunk, get your ass fired, and you'll probably have a bad rep and not get another job again. So be on your game. Agent-client relationship, all the stuff like this, headshots, blah blah blah, acting. Ask me questions someday. I'll send you guys more information. I don't want to go too deep in all this. How to develop your range, blah, 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 improv class. So, to wrap up all these panels I went over, lots of panels at Comic-Con. A lot of the main themes are just be nice, be available, be in proximity, don't do it solo, have your stuff out there, represent yourself well. It's just there's a lot of common sense in this stuff, and there's also a lot of weird things of making your own luck and flukes and blah, blah, blah. So, that's all I have to say about panels. I hope you found that interesting. At some point, I do want to talk to you guys about the comic book law closing the deal stuff. because that was really interesting. But that'll take another day because it's already 11 o'clock now. Katie, how's your Sunday at Comic-Con?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I was gonna say our after party was awesome.
Oh yeah, we had our own after party on Sunday.
Yeah, the Pizza Cartoon Network party was really good. We basically just hung out on our giant beds at the Omni and ordered pizza and just ate pizza and watched cartoons. It was great. And then we went onto the roof and went in the pool for a bit, which was really nice.
Yeah, it was really weird because actually watching Cartoon Network from the States, I'm like, this is like the internet channel. It has all the shows I watch online. Kind of strange that it exists.
Commercials for more shows.
Yeah, that's interesting. But that was that. I don't know. That was our Comic-Con basically.
That was Comic-Con. Yeah.
Got to hang out with some folks. There was a night where we went off to the Marriott poolside bar to hang out with a bunch of people we knew.
That was good.
Lots of long
kidlit party. So,
long, in-depth talk about Digimon.
That was good.
It was a good stuff.
Check it out. Give it a second.
Yeah. It was interesting stuff. But yeah, so San Diego Comic-Con this year was fun. Oh, I didn't show. We also picked up one of these for you Korra fans. You guys, those little Pabu with his fire ferret outfit.
Oh, so cute.
That's so good, isn't it? Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice?
Aww.
Beyond that, yeah.
It was good. It was a lot of fun. It was a good con. Yeah, I remember even when we were coming up to it, I was like, I don't know, I already had a good time at Comic-Con. Was there going to be anything like to check out? But I mean, you know, it's fun every time. If you haven't done it, I recommend it. Like, and if you have, you know, it's the people that really make it fun. So.
My one big tip for keeping your Comic-Con sanity is to make sure you realize that you're not going to be able to do everything you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, you can make a list of everything ever, but due to how long certain lines can be or how things time out, something's got to go. So, you know, be sure to, like, you know, even with me, I had a lot of panels that were really similar. I planned to go to like 3 panels on pitching, you know, but it just wasn't feasible. So, like, don't feel bad about missing stuff. Don't feel bad about taking a break. You know, the fact that you're there at all, it's just to hang out, have fun, get to see stuff, get some free stuff, buy some stuff, or not. You know, just go there to meet people, just you know, and make the con your own. You know, there's lots to do, only so much time. Just make sure you enjoy yourself and you're not too concerned about. Because in the end, you know, like it's even like you being in line for every exclusive item. It's like then next year you're for the next exclusive items, and it's just you're getting more stuff. Who cares? Just go for fun. Enjoy yourselves. Beyond that, I don't know if we really, you know, sorry, 11 something here, so I don't know if
I think we should
afterwards. We'll start wrapping.
Shortly.
The Cole's notes is we went down to, you know, we got a place at Long Beach, and we went surfing at Manhattan Beach. I got super sunburned.
How is that, by the way?
It's healing.
It's healing?
It's healing.
Oh.
It's healing. We went to Disneyland.
Which was amazing.
For the sunburn with a bunch of good folks.
Fun.
Always fun to go to Disney. We rode the Tower of Terror and the Animal Boat Ride.
The Animal Boat Ride was great. I can't believe it's taken us so long to go on it. Tower of Terror was a lot of fun.
Basically, my one tip for Disneyland for you guys is if you're ever going to go on those kind of like actor-ran rides where like the cast members on the boat, be it like the Storytime in Fantasyland or the Animal Boat Ride in Adventureland, be sure to go as late as possible, because that's when they have like nothing left.
They get really punchy.
It's the funniest. It's so fun. It's so fun. That's when you want to go. It's the most enjoyable.
Yeah.
And then after that, our plane got delayed by a day because they overbooked and then got a smaller plane, so we were trapped in LA.
Canada was overbooked by 15 lucky people. And this is why you should always sign in online before you show up at the airport.
Yeah, we got screwed. We didn't even have seats. We showed up with a ticket that said maybe you'll have a seat. I don't know. And we're like, and so we were in the airport we were stuck in the airport for like 4 to 5 hours.
You show up 3 hours early for an international flight.
And then we waited around for the flight to get nothing. Then we have to stick around longer to get all our luggage back. Then they sent us off to a hotel at the Westin back in LA.
Bad.
And then we had to come back from the Westin to go back to the airport, but we're here.
The lineups in the morning were ridiculous, but you know they gave us a coupon for the trouble, so
So
and
we're here.
they paid for the hotel
We have our health.
room service.
We had a good time.
Yeah,
Comic-Con was a blast.
Comic-Con was so much fun.
Upcoming events. We're wrapping up this show because no more time. You guys gotta sleep. Upcoming events. Fan Expo's coming up. Most of us are avoiding it because we're scared. But a bunch of people we know are going.
So terrifying.
There is also a bunch of book launches happening around here. We have, and signings. We got Bannister is going to be in town at Little Island doing a signing. We got Kazu's going to be doing the launch for Amulet.
Oh my goodness.
At the Little Island, as well as I think there's a library thing too, and maybe some bookstores. I know he's doing kind of a chapters tour. If you want to find out more about this, sign up for the Beguilen Facebook page, and you'll get all the invites to everything. Chris Butcher will send you invites. There's gonna be coming up. There's gonna be a lot of crazy, nice events happening. We're going to karaoke and stuff. I think maybe Wonderland. Then we're going to Wonderland, maybe. Lots of stuff coming up with this comic weekend in late August. That's as far as I know what's happened, because I've been talking for a while.
Yeah. It's been good. It's been a very informative episode. I'm just kind of sitting here in a daze of chocolate and wine.
Yeah. I apologize if you guys if I zoned you guys out with like too much details.
No, that was very
stuff,
informative.
I
feel like I was at those panels myself.
You basically were at 5 days of panels in 2 hours. How do you feel?
He condensed it. I feel just full of knowledge. I want to make a book, a comic book.
My experience watching Shaggy talk about his experience at Comic by Katie.
Yes.
Is there anything else to report? Any upcoming events?
Those were the big ones. Mostly I'm out of town right now, so I'm not sure what's happening. I might go check out the Biodome tomorrow.
Ooh.
Guardians of the Galaxy is out.
Oh, I gotta go watch that still. I want to go to the VIP.
We went today, so you guys should go ahead without us, then we can discuss.
All right, we'll talk about Guardians. Check out Guardians. Everyone's liking it, and if it's going to be as successful as it sounds like, Marvel will probably start taking even more risks, which is only better for the industry.
So much better.
I'm tired of this repetitive crap. I want fresh and weird. Let's do this, Marvel.
I like fresh and weird.
Cool. So, from all of us here at Shanahanigans Live.
Yeah. Sorry.
Thanks for sticking around.
Thank you for hanging out.
Take a risk.
Keep working on your stuff.
Join a writing group. Make a writing group if there's none to join. Go to your improv classes. Talk to an agent. Talk to a publisher. Ask when to follow up.
But the most important thing is just
nice.
Yeah, but also do the work. You gotta bring it. You gotta work. You gotta draw. You gotta write. You gotta do it.
Don't be a dick.
Just do it.
Gotcha.
And don't be a dick.
And eat good food.
Yeah, take care of yourself and do some stretches.
Don't get sunburned.
Don't get
when it says water resistant, don't believe it.
Yeah.
Son of a gun.
Make sure it soaks in before you step out into the sun.
Oh, gosh. Thanks for sticking around, guys. We'll see you guys hopefully next week. Usually Tuesdays. Shanahanigans Live is on Tuesdays, usually at 8 o'clock. We'll tell you otherwise. You should sign up to or like or click, follow, I don't know what it is. Shanahanigans Facebook, SHAN. Katie's drinking water. AHANIGANS. You also want to go to SillyKingdom.com if you want to look into the new books and the old books and the art. The fan art is great. Keep it coming. Silly Kingdom.
You want to pre-order this.
Yeah, pre-order. Look at it.
It's coming. Look at it.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It's looking great. Katie's Twitter and Tumblr, Katie Shy. Follow me, Shaggy Shan, for all my stuff. Once in a while, we post things on uberfriendship.com. There's also shanahanigans.com, where new stuff pops up every now and then, too. Follow all those things. It's the best way to keep in touch with whatever we're doing. If you have questions, also, there's emails, and I don't know what they are. But no.
They're somewhere. You can find them on our blogs.
Go to the blogs. Otherwise, see you guys next week. Have a good night.
Ciao. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.